Good evening. It's Friday the 13th as we continue down spooky season. Yes, another week and also another week closer to the expo, which is now under 1 month away. We have now crossed the threshold.
It's too close now.
I know, right? It's terrible.
Usually I'm waiting for it, but now I just want to push it away a little while.
Yeah, no, it's sneaking up on us, man. Sneaking up on us, Bobby.
Yep.
So let me start off the top here. We'll do a couple of quick housekeeping items, and then we'll get into it. We've got a lot of stuff going on, so I'm looking forward to it. It's the best time of year if you like your sports. If you like your live sports, there's a lot of stuff going on here. So we'll definitely touch on some of that. So let me start off here by thanking AMG Collectibles, who are supporting the channel and the podcast as well. Also, I want to thank Dakota, Sports Card Anonymous, for joining me on a nice football discussion earlier in the week. And then also we got the podcast episode where we talked a little bit about the Geoff Wilson 14,000 square foot spectacular. He has since done another video where he elaborated on this a couple of things, so it's good to know a little bit more information. We'll learn more as they obviously get closer, but a lot of it was just kind of us making educated guesses. I still think some of it is going to play out the way we think, but for now, it's been kind of downplayed. I will say if they don't have the close relationship to Fanatics, it doesn't have to be ownership, but if they don't have some kind of a close relationship, I'm going to downgrade my ambitious to reckless. Building a business that's relying on that much breaking. If you don't already have an in, if you don't already have some kind of a sweetheart deal figured out, you need a lot of boxes.
Is that an
throwing it out there?
Downgrade?
Yeah, that's a downgrade. Look, ambitious is fine.
Depends how you look at it.
Well, ambitious is fine. Reckless is a little bit dangerous. It's like that would go into more reckless. It's like, why are you starting a business when you haven't figured that one out yet? I would want to make sure I have that in there.
It will be a complete failure if he does not have the front doors as sliding open automatic doors, and when someone walks through, it automatically yells his big hello thing. That has to be how it's set up. It will be a complete failure if that isn't the case.
Like a Walmart.
Bubbles, I think it's going to be an animatronic Geoff Wilson. I think he's gonna have, like, you ever go to Chuck E. Cheese? For a while, they had those animatronic ones. They're going to have an animatronic Geoff Wilson screaming hello at you, which is frightening. Frightening. All right, let me read a couple of comments here, get caught up. Good evening, everybody. Hockey Cardboard said, let's go Bruins, let's go Bruins. Just 81 home games till golf season. You can do it. Enthusiasm. I appreciate it. Josh Eric, it's Friday night. You know what that means because I'm Carlos is live. Thank you, Josh. Justin's here. Good evening, Justin. Orlando, Collector's Dream. Good evening. Kamikaze. Good evening. Tom. Good evening, fellow cardboard collectors and connoisseurs and guy who puts his sneakers in the washer.
There's nothing wrong with that.
If they didn't know who it was, now they know. Here's Dakota. Good evening, Dakota. Eric has a rough edge. Bobby is smooth, clean edge. Bobbles is smooth, but has some color loss from sun exposure. All right, hit the like button. Beautiful. Thank you for that. Appreciate it. Great talk with Dakota. Good stuff. I agree. It was fun. It was good to get a nice football conversation to kind of break it in. And also talk about where he's sitting at collecting wise, because I knew he was going to do some shifts in the collection. So I thought it'd be a worthwhile topic to explore a little bit. And we did on the disc
or shits.
I said shifts
because that was the thing with him too.
Well, that's a different issue, but I was talking about shifts, shifting, if you will. Justin here says a long week of news. Love you guys. Stop making people cry, Bobbles. I know. I wish you would. He should be nicer. Man of peace, Bobbles. Man of peace. Good evening, Hitchcock Light. That's right. I actually greet Eric that way. Usually when we get on here, I do the good evening.
It's a little
I've been picking up some great PC cards that have done a big pivot. I'll hopefully fire up the channel soon. There you go. Perfect. Yeah, Dakota got your reference, Bobbles. Perfect. Well done. By the way, for the record, I'm not going to dwell on it, but I did watch the most recent episode of, podcasts that shall not be named. And one of them did take a little pot shot at you, but it was so weak. I actually missed it the first time. It was so brief. And the title was like clickbaity saying, the elephant in the room. And I'm sitting there like, okay, they're going to say something. They're going to address it. It was literally like half a second.
Too.
It was literally half. So just so you're clear, you're not a real Southerner. You're fake. Just so you know. If you blink, you miss it.
No, he was talking about Commonwealth Picker.
Oh, that is even worse than I thought.
Yeah, that was
we gotta teach him how to acknowledge. Eric, we gotta teach him how to acknowledge. This is very disappointing.
Oh, most definitely.
We gotta teach him.
Yeah, that wasn't about me.
And now I'm doubly disappointed. Bobbles, now I am disappointed for. I already was disappointed for you because I'm like, that's lame. And then that it's not even directed at the correct. That's it.
That wasn't about me.
I'd like to remind everybody, my name is Butternut Squash because from what I understand, having a silly, ridiculous name with nuts in it and butters and everything. That's a cool thing to do on the YouTube.
Well, the problem is you became butt not squash by the end of the podcast.
No, that's
you lost the
I am just trying to follow in the footsteps of the premier YouTubers out there who are all about making a bazillion dollars. And step one is to have a catchy name on your videos. And so butternut squash is the best I can come up with.
Amazing. Dufex here, TJF. Thank you, Dufex. Good evening and happy Friday to you. Geoff here. Hello, everyone. Good evening, Geoff. I get that swash with serrated knife. Facts. Good stuff. We're all caught up. Perfect. Thank you. Thank you all. Appreciate the comments.
That's my safe word, right?
It's a problem. A serious issue. Now, so as I mentioned that we talked about, I already mentioned the video with Dakota. So again, thank you for that. That was a really good one. I'm going to have the second episode in the series of me going through old Beckett's, ye old Beckett's. So for our next one, we'll be going to not long after the first one. The first one was, I think, May 1991. We're going to be moving forward about 5 or 6 months to October of 1991. And actually, there were some major changes that you can see in the magazine already. Even in just that short period, it tells you how crazy that early 90s period was, the amount of movement and stuff. But I did find another article that is timely. Once again, 1991, go back 32 years and something else that actually struck a chord that actually fits something we've talked about in recent months, which is kind of funny that it came up. So I'll be recording that one. We'll have some fun with that. Here we go.
Was there any like conversation in the 91 Beckett's? Because I don't remember, that was a long time ago, of repacks. Was that a topic in those Beckett's?
Probably not.
That's been a huge topic in 2023.
Yeah. Well, it's actually the memorabilia. It was actually, the article itself was about memorabilia and fake autographs. So that, which is something that's definitely come up over the last couple of months in particular. So that's why I say, like, but think 1991. So this 32 years and we were still talking about a lot of this stuff. Josh here says the most shocking hobby news of the week was the guy cashing in the Ruth retro fact. Yes, that's right. And they did do a video about it. So good on them for doing that. Man, he would have heard about it if we would have heard about it if he had said no. Yeah. No, he took the 200,000. Wise man. Take your money and run.
So was that planned out to make the set worth more, or like really? Because the bounty they put on it was exorbitant, right?
Yeah, but it was David Adams has actually done several of those bounties, and it's for them. Now, don't forget they sell product. So for them, it's like at the end of the day, there is a promotional element of it, and there's also the fact they literally do sell products. So it's like,
but wasn't it
helps them too. Sorry,
wasn't it Tops though?
No. The one. So the one you're talking about is the bounty where they made a mistake and did duplicates 1-of-1s.
2 1-of-1s.
The Ruth Superfactor was not part of that. That one did not have an issue. That was David Adams specifically making a bounty just for the Ruth Superfactor. If you found it, $200,000 is the offer.
Yeah, I didn't hear that one.
Yeah.
Correct me.
But they did that before too.
Yes. They've done a few of those now.
Was the Otani bounty the first like big bounty in the hobby that and I believe Blowout is the one that put the Otani one into play. Was that the first one where like Steel City, DA, Blowout started pushing these little gimmick promotions to move product at higher margins to get people to buy more, chasing these cards? Because I don't remember any previous to that one, but it's becoming more and more common since the Otani.
I think those are the biggest high profile ones. I don't remember the year or the brand, but I want to say it was Bowman years and years and years ago. Once upon a time, this is a little different context, but once upon a time, I want to say it was Bowman offered to buy back your set. I want to say for $125, regardless. It was like a guarantee almost. Like they put a floor on it and said like within eventually they did cut it off. You can't do that forever. But they basically said if you completed the set and for whatever reason the value didn't hold or whatever, they would buy back a certain amount of sets at $125. I think it was something like that. Don't quote me on the exact numbers. It's been a long time, so I don't remember the exact, but it was something like that.
Wasn't that also? I guess this goes back way further, because wasn't that part of the story with the Nap LaJoie and why it's so rare is because to complete the set of that there was some prize or something, and they actually
so that one Bobbles, they didn't make it. and people complained. And what happened eventually, they just said, okay, fine, write into us and we'll send you the damn card. But you had to write in. So that's the reason for the Nablajoué. So it was intentionally
it did have
never
something
made.
to do with the set. I knew. Okay,
Yeah.
I knew
But
it was something to do with the set. And
made.
people couldn't complete their set, and they kept buying it. And finally, they said, "Hey, look, we didn't even." Okay, kind of the same thing though. Gimmick.
Yeah, well, but that was a good old fashioned. We know we can rope you in. We won't put the set in there. It's like, yeah. Keep opening packs. Keep opening packs. It's definitely in there. Knowing full well it was never in there. Enough people complained. What made it rare is that they waited a while for enough complaints to come in, and then they said, yeah, write in and we'll do it. So now you're asking people to actually do an extra step. If you did, they would send it to you. But obviously not a lot of people did relative to the amount of people complaining about it.
Well, for hockey,
it makes sense
the 20s was all about that. It was all about the short print cards. That was probably the worst time for short prints. And, other companies have done it over the years too. It's just they do it in different ways to hide it. But, it's true.
Yeah, but the key, though, is it's not a new tactic. It's definitely been employed a number of times over the years.
Well, there is a deliberate thing. I think something came into the Constitution that they had to, I don't know, they couldn't short print on purpose. I think it was passed a bill or something like that because a lot of people complained in the 20s. I forget reading the article, but there was something put in place there. So that's why.
Well, the Lajoie was in a 30 set.
This was Canada.
Yeah. Oh, okay, gotcha.
Hockey,
okay,
yeah,
gotcha.
I said Constitution. That made you think USA. I know. So sorry.
Right.
We have a Constitution too, but no.
Yeah. No. So I did. I've actually chatted with Dakota, so we definitely we appreciate that he was able to come on and have a conversation with me about that. Love the Beckett video. Good to hear. I've got, I think, 5 or 6 issues, so I plan on doing a couple more of those. They're definitely fun to do. I want to go through the issue ahead of time and see if there's anything interesting or fun. If there's nothing in particular that strikes me, I won't bother with it. But I've seen a couple of things in a few of them that I think would be fun to go over. So I think that'd be cool. I use a 99 Hockey Beckett as a reference before I buy all my 90s hockey. Fair enough. Seems reasonable enough. Hockey 99 says Carlos going to full-time to hobby content discussions. That's different from before. I think it's about the same.
The second time they tuned in. So,
So Eric,
yeah,
you've been quiet up there in your corner there this evening. Are you sad that Connor Bedard made his start of his career goal scoring against your Bruins, or what's on your plate for today?
Yeah, that bothered me, but also the fact that the last superstar that came into the league scored their, the last superstar that came in the league scored their first goal against the Bruins too, and that was Mario Lemieux.
Yeah, I thought you were talking about Robertson. I was like, what's with the Bruins?
No. Lemieux did the same thing. Scored his first goal on his first shift, on his first shot in his first game against the Boston Bruins. And he went on to have a pretty good career. So, maybe that's saying something for this kid. But I don't think we're going to see anything from him for another couple of years. I mean, really great. He's definitely the real deal. But, I mean, if you look at him, he looks like he's 12. I don't think he's shaved yet. I don't know if he has a driver's license yet. Definitely can't drink.
You know what's funny though? We were on the Discord. Bobbles was bringing up his size and everything, which I understand. But here's the thing. Look, you want to know what's funny? Bedard, even if you guess like 160 pounds or something, and maybe he is. Who knows? But here's the thing: if that's true, then he's about the same size as Gretzky was when he started.
Yeah. And
it was
more protection now. I mean,
that's what I say. Like, you just need to get him a protector, and you're good to go.
No, I don't mean like Dave Semenko.
No, I think you should get Dave Semenko.
The rules of today's game will protect him more.
Well, Eric, I made the point of Martin St. Louis and a lot of those guys. The game is actually designed now to allow those guys in the olden days. Without a Dave Semenko, he would have been killed. In this game, no, he's fine. That is not an issue. That will not be. He'll have room to work. He'll have room to do his stuff.
In Gretzky time, I know there was physicality, in any sport.
Not for Gretzky. Even Gretzky did not know that contact was legal until his career ended.
That's it.
He was told these rumors.
Were the guys,
thanks to Dave Semenko,
outside of physicality, were the guys as like strong as the dudes today?
Yeah, no, I get you. But the thing is, like, you got to remember, he is literally like, if you look at his birth date, he is like 18 in days, like in days. Like he barely just crossed over the age of 18. So the truth is that they're not concerned about they're going to give him an opportunity to give. But the truth is, given that the team isn't that good, and he will have some opportunities to move around, all he's got to do is basically just put up a bunch of shots. If you're Chicago, you're like, yeah, just shoot away. Within reason, shoot. Just shoot. Some stuff is going to go in. Just automatically it's going to go in.
Marner was small too coming into Toronto. So, I mean, he's held his own quite well.
I just, the reason I was asking is I watched the opening night game against Pittsburgh, and obviously it was big for the kid to start his career facing Sidney Crosby. I mean, that's huge, you know. He said it was his idol. But what caught my attention was the dudes, when they hit him, he was literally flying. Like when they were checking him, he wasn't just falling to the ice. He was like flying. And I told Carlos, and I was like, he may have talent, but how long is he going to last flying and hitting the ice like that? Because they were welcoming him to the NHL for sure.
Yeah.
But he, like you said, shoot the puck. I think he took 11 or 12 shots on opening night. So
you got assist, didn't you?
He got an assist in the first game and a goal in the second.
And a goal in the second, yeah. And Matthew got a hat trick on his first.
Mm-hmm. Wow. Well, not only that, Bobby, his first goal was his 300th. And he actually became the second fastest to 300 goals in the current era. Like, obviously, Gretzky is his own deal with that situation.
Sure.
But outside of him in the current era, he's just behind Ovechkin.
Wow.
I think he was only 9 games behind Ovechkin in terms of number of games played, which, if you think about it, where Ovechkin is sitting right now, goals-wise, that's actually an extremely impressive company in the current era.
So you think Matthews is going to go forward and?
I don't think he's going to be able to hold that level of consistency.
Ovechkin's record,
I think he got off. I think he got off to the best start he could possibly get in his career-wise in terms of games. But he's also had 150 goal season so far.
Isn't that his first game in the NHL? He got a hat trick.
4. He got 4 in his first game.
4 in his first game. Yeah.
The reality is he's done an amazing job though in the amount of, I'm comparing the amount of games. So in the amount of games, he's literally only behind Ovechkin in the current crop of guys to get the 300 goals. The problem is Ovechkin was scoring 50 like it was going out of style just as an annual practice. Austin Matthews has had 160 goal season, which is extremely impressive.
But he was hurt too throughout on different times. So
and he's had a bunch of 40 goal seasons. So the stack of 40 goal seasons, a 47 goal season, and a 60 goal season is how he's racked that up in a relatively short period of time. Yeah. But it takes years. With Ovechkin, it was like 50 goals, 65 goals, 50 goals, 50. He just kept doing it year after year. He's still, I think, one behind or tied with the most 50 goal seasons. So it's you got to keep doing it year after year after year. Regardless, though, very impressive. But now it's like, okay, can you do it again this season? Can you rack up another one next season and the season after that? And it takes time.
Didn't I say we didn't get defense? And what was the biggest problem?
It was come on, you outscore them technically.
Well, this is the whole thing. That's why I always said before, is we're going to outscore our opponents, and we actually had to. It's 5-5, and it still went into overtime. Thank God for Marner and scoring that one goal, because Matthews couldn't get it in. He can get a hat trick, but he can't get anything overtime. I don't know why.
Yep.
Kind of crazy.
Average Joe card collector here is just trying to stand someone up that's 120 pounds heavier. It makes a little sense. Flying is just less impact on your body. Exactly. True. He's being efficient, Bobbles. Efficiency. The problem is Bedard is already light years ahead of your buddy J-Rob, who after 3 games didn't score shit. So he's already like infinity times better goal scorer than J-Rob. Infinity times. Check the first 3 games. Check the first season. Check the first 3. Check the first season. He played like 3 games. He didn't score.
Yeah, but
you can't count that
already infinity time. Mathematically, Bobbles, he is infinity times a better goal scorer. Infinity times. Don't fight the math. Don't make me pull out the calculator. I will pull out the fucking calculator. Eric will write boobies on it, and you won't even know what hit you.
Yeah.
Never. Yeah. Thank you, Wes. Thank you.
I'm getting to it. It was a more exuberant personality, Charter Gretzky. Not applicable. Not applicable. 9. As the Germans would say, 9.
The word exuberant and Gretzky do not go together.
No, they don't. No, they
I don't
don't.
think he has a heartbeat. I think that's what made him so good. He's just like this all the time.
Yep.
Yeah, it worked out for him. Bedard weighs more than Johnny Gaudreau, the forgotten little man. Yeah, the thing is, there's a lot of small guys in hockey who have a high skill, and they've done well. It's like let's do it, Wes. You can try to fight me, and then you'll be weakened for when the Houston Astros roll by. I don't think you want to be fighting a multi-front war, Wes. Be careful. Robo Slander will not be tolerated. You're gonna have to accept it. Bobbles' job is to pump him to the moon. I've got to put some cold water on that shit to try to help out. It's like, look, remember, I'm gonna remind you.
There's enough air in the tank to keep pumping.
Yeah, listen, you do the pumping as much as you want. I'm just gonna remind you of one thing and one thing only. This past season was an amazing season. He set the club record in points, scored tons of goals, did amazing. But scoring was up across the board. I think Bobby had like 97 points last season. Like it was elevated scoring last year. And then and what happened in the postseason? Let's talk about the postseason.
The postseason,
not as
I
good.
love him, but Ottinger, we got to manage him this year and manage his time because they talked about it last night. He even said he was worn out. So
I agree.
They got to manage him.
Here's the truth. Jason Robertson will be important for that team to do well, but they will go as far as a good goaltender will take them. So they need to make sure he is prepared for the playoffs. Otherwise, I don't care what Robertson's going to do unless he plans to play goal. I don't care.
Yep. And I said it last year that Ottinger in the playoffs, like he was either brilliant or he was lost. There was like, it was a huge extreme. He either had a really great game or he couldn't stop anything. So hopefully this year they can manage him.
Yeah, makes sense. I love it. 100% true. Yeah. It happens once in a while. You should listen more, though. There's some good stuff. Yes. Do you know any Barry Larkin collectors? There's actually one guy. I actually saw there is a guy on YouTube who has a pretty good Barry Larkin collection.
Is it Barry Larkin?
Sorry?
Is it Barry Larkin?
I wish. That'd be awesome. I think that'd be cool. No, there's actually a guy. I want to say it's Barry Larkin. I think it's him. It was somebody for the Reds for sure. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's Barry Larkin. But anyway, so he has a lot of his nice 90s cards, like a lot of really good ones. And the thing is that the problem is that he's the only one I can think of. And that's kind of the answer to that question. So even if there is one really good collector, well, as soon as he gets the cards he wants, then the demand kind of dies off after that. So, and there's your problem. It's not that there are no collectors, is that there are not enough collectors to sustain the price. So we'll see, and we'll get a chance to talk. We'll invite this man. I think on the podcast this time. I already mentioned if you saw the last episode. This time around, this is our do good for Eric. We will focus an episode talking more about the hockeys. We'll specifically focus on the hockeys. So that's the plan. Yep. Yeah. For the next episode, we're going to talk about the hockeys. So it'll be the Dallas Stars Pump podcast with Eric.
Okay. And I'll bring all my hockey knowledge that I have displayed over the years, and continue my streak of excellence.
I have a YouTube short to that effect. Yes, I have made a YouTube short on this channel to that effect. Yes.
Okay.
Panthers did great until Eric started rooting for him. I know. He ruins everything he touches. He is the anti-Midas touch. Alex Lafreniere scored his first goal with the Rangers. I wonder if Bedard will compare stats-wise this year. I think he's going to do a little better. I actually think he's going to get a chance to just shoot away. Because I don't think that team right now is currently configured. I don't think they're going to be that good. So I think for them, basically all they got to do is just make sure they keep him upright and let him shoot away and let him get a chance to take some shots. And some are going to bounce in, and some might be rebounds that a couple of guys get some goals on, so he gets some assists that way. I think he'll do okay points-wise. But other than that, it's a learning season. He's literally just turned 18. It's like, let the kid play a little bit and let him get his feet wet. What's up, everyone? Hope you're having a great night. Thank you for Leaf Cards. Appreciate that.
I'm not having a great night.
You're not?
Keep working on it.
No.
How about those Oilers? Not a good game for them. Was it 8-1 they lost to Vancouver? It was like 8-1.
Something like bad, yeah.
It was pretty huge.
What part of last year they needed a goalie didn't happen this year?
My wife's been a bit sad as well because her Kraken have looked like they cracked. They're not starting very well either, so she's not been happy.
Well, at least you got a card out of your metal break, so there's
Yeah, I do have some of those here, and I want to ask the chat when you get done.
Sure, yeah. I got one more after this, so I'll quickly read Paul's comment and we'll go forward. Houston Oilers, a little late there, Wes. There you go. Bringing the Houston Oilers. Appreciate it. Okay, so this one's good. So we talked about it on the podcast a little bit. Did you hear it all about this Cards HQ at all, Bobby?
The what? Sorry.
So the Cards HQ is Geoff Wilson's 14,000 square foot mega store.
I heard a little bit about it.
Do you have any thoughts?
You know,
thank you, Bob Lewis. I knew that I knew somebody. I thought so. Dead Guy Cardboard. That's the YouTube channel. Dead Guy Cardboard. He collects Barry Larkin. I knew, and he has some nice cards, by the way. For Barry Larkin, nice cards. Go ahead, Bobby. Sorry.
If he's dead, how's he collecting? That's so stupid. Whatever.
Yeah.
It's the spooky season, Eric. Why are you fighting it?
It's the 13th. The 13th, man. What do you want? Yeah, and that's what I think. It'd be the Geoff the 13th when it opens.
Wow.
Yeah. I don't see it being very successful. And like you were saying, you know, he needs to have a good deal in place. Otherwise, he's just going to be a fancy shop in Atlanta, of all places. Like, I don't know. Don't know. Is Atlanta the place? I don't know. Yeah. We'll see.
I'll say this. The Sports Card Radio guys did spend some time talking about this, and I went and listened back on it. And they did make a good point that we didn't emphasize as much. And it's but it's also part of what we talked about, the amount of staffing they're going to need. We focused on staffing in general. They also touched on that. But another point they made, which, you know, is part of staffing too, but it's also very specific. If you're going to run an operation where somebody's going to be in the store all the time, including, you know, 24/7, and you're going to be really running an operation, then you need meticulous security, a lot of security, because you're having to protect potentially a lot of valuable items. All you got to do is do this. What we talked about before, we've had Brad on. Brad was a little under the weather. I did invite him, but we'll try to get him in the coming weeks, especially when we get closer to Expo. But when he talked about opening up that PSA Canada, a PSA submission center, right? He talked about opening that up. One of the things they included was a safe, because the actual area they built it on was based off of a Scotia Bank bank branch, which has already a built-in, like, proper bank level safe. Why would you need something like that? Well, you've got valuables in there. But now you're talking about this card shop, right? You're buying all this inventory. You got all these boxes. You got all these singles. You got all this stuff. Well, what's going to happen? Well, you're worried about, and this is what I'm giving the Sports Card Radio guys credit for pointing this out, which is accurate. It's correct. You got to make sure you hire very carefully, because employee theft could be a thing. You got to make sure you hire very carefully, because you got to have somebody keeping an eye on to make sure that people don't try to pilfer things off of showcases. With the size of the space, the amount of people, it's not like one person operating the desk and you're doing your stuff. Is that there's activity going on over here, there's breaks going on over there. All this stuff is happening at the same time. You got to have you got to have cameras, you got to have real security keeping an eye on all this. You can imagine the amount of potential theft that could be all over the place.
Is it in an independent building or in a mall?
I think it's inside of I think it's a unit inside of a building.
Whatever.
Yeah. So I think it's some kind of a commercial space, but I don't think it's a mall. I think it's a commercial space.
See, malls are good because of the security that's in place.
Yeah, you do have that extra building. Yeah.
Yeah. So, which is good.
So I think that's all I'll say is that that's a major consideration, because the more good inventory you have, the more value is in the room, the more obvious of a target you become for theft.
Yeah, I don't see the being in the Atlanta area, I don't know if they have that many people that would go visiting an actual place like that. I he's got a lot of followers and what have you, on, respectfully so, but that's online. Getting into an actual space, that's tough.
Well, one of the pillars is they've leaned onto the idea that they will do online sales all the time, meaning basically 24/7. So if you can, it's the Burbank model. You've got the store at Burbank, but you can also go to their eBay store and buy stuff all the time, and they'll sell you tons of singles that are already listed on there. Yeah. So if you can move inventory that way, that sells too, and you can keep things churning and moving.
Yeah, it seems like a lot of labor for what he's looking to get out of it. And it's not densely popular, and Atlanta's not that huge of a city. I don't know.
So kicker, Bobby, the kicker is he has purchased it in the area of the ballpark. So you're going to have good weather mostly. And you have, it's 160 games in a season. Half of those are at home. And so you can have all this outdoor foot traffic walking right by his shop, looking to buy Atlanta Braves stuff, cards, memorabilia, whatever, coming in and seeing all this other stuff that's offered. So I think it's really going to be successful. I think it's going to do really well. The other thing is, I don't know how far away the ballpark is from the airport. But what I do know is that the Atlanta airport is a hub, and a lot of connecting flights go in and out of Atlanta. It's, for some reason, I don't know why there's not direct flights to all these places, but everybody has to go to Atlanta first and then fly to where they're going. If you have a 3-hour layover and you're into cards, can you get to the ballpark area from the airport, and check this place out in between flights? I don't know. So, I really think this thing will be successful. And there's guys walking around on FaceTime and you can, and scanning what's there, and you can be like, oh, let me take a look at that one. Yeah, I want to buy that one. And then they'll go out back, process it, and mail it out to you. I think that's, with today's technology, I think that's pretty cool.
So I'll quickly say two things. Number one, the potential with what you're talking about is there. Number two, I would definitely bet against him. I would give him 24 months to be shuttering those doors. And I'm thinking that basically because he's going to want to have a certain runway with it. And I say that because I don't trust him to hire well. It's a very specific type of hiring, but you're going to need to staff that very carefully if you're going to make things. The security thing, like I said, is a real thing, but also the actual people that you're getting in that store to put the inventory away, to make sure things are organized, sorted. Again, if you actually want to make enough money for this to work, cards got to be coming in and out on a constant flow. You can't be sitting on steel inventory. Stuff's got to move all the time, which means it is a very carefully coordinated operation. I watched his follow-up discussion with the guys on the Jeff Wilson show, the follow-up discussion with his partners. Neither one of them instilled confidence in me that they would be the guy who would make the right hiring. I think they're perfectly capable of running a normal size shop, but you're basically building out this mega shop concept that nobody's tried before. So you've got Geoff, who's never actually run a card shop ever. And you've got two guys who maybe have the note, we're going to start up a shop, but have not done anything to that level of scale. No one has done anything to that level of scale. And so you've got three neophytes in trying to do something that has never been done before. Who is going to take the lead in making the right decisions and getting the right hiring done? I just pose it as a question.
Well, you have an owner, and then the owner should hire a general manager to do all that stuff. And hopefully he'll hire the right. I don't know I saw the video a little earlier. I don't really know this guy that he introduced on the video. I don't know if he's really.
There's two of them.
Yeah.
So there's two of them that are his partners who in theory would hold something resembling that general manager role. That's why I say, look, it was a fun discussion to have. I will reserve judgment to see as we get more information, and we'll see what happens. And maybe he has an amazing sweetheart deal with Fanatics, and they make his life easy on the product and get product in the door to help him. If they do that and do it enough, and he's got enough margin, maybe that's enough to get him by. Maybe the breaking is enough to get him by. Maybe they're able to utilize all these things that they do well and make enough money to get them by. I just look at them though, and I go, I don't know which one of you is going to be the person who is capable of actually leading this type of business. Because whether you believe Geoff's good at business or not, he's got a ton of businesses. None of those businesses are like the type of business he's building here. Just because you're good at a type of business necessarily doesn't translate over to retail. Retail is its own beast. It's a completely different thing in terms of how
very few are successful.
Yes,
it's
very different.
He has ran not necessarily retail, but he has ran, I believe it was Baskin Robbins.
Yeah, it was the ice cream shops. Yeah.
Yeah, so
but by his own acknowledgement, he struggled with that. By his own acknowledgement,
I was just saying, that's kind of retail-ish. So
Yeah. So the
He had
point though is
31
that
flavors.
you struggled to run a series of Baskin Robbins, and you're going to a 14,000 square foot place inside of a former big box chain store. Bon chance.
Yes.
That's all I'll say. It's good for the content. I look forward to watching the videos and people reviewing it and going to visit. Like I said, for a while, I think it's going to be interesting. Is it going to be successful? No earthly idea.
Is that the choice? Like, is that your choice? Like, I can't see that being your first choice to do something like that. For when he's done, I just don't see it. It doesn't make sense. Like, you can see California, maybe you can see another densely populated New York or something, maybe in Chicago, but who'd want to go there? But regardless, I thought Hotlanta, really?
I do think it was smart. Well, that's his base. That's where his headquarters.
I understand, but I'm just saying.
I think I do. I will say though, we mentioned
no
it on the
hockey
podcast.
team since the Flames.
I don't think hockey is going to be the make or break for that shop.
Regardless, I'm just saying that's the one that less sport. Who's their football team?
Falcons, allegedly.
Still the Falcons? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so you got football. All right. So you got a couple teams. But
yeah, and you're beside the baseball stadium, so you got that. So one last thing before I'll read a couple. I'll get caught up on the comments. Thank you all for the comments. I'll get caught up on them here. One last thing I'll say though is that regardless, I do think in the end we touched on it in the podcast, but then he elaborated on it some more. I do think it's smart that by putting his studio there and by maybe doing some of his offices there, and this is something the Sports Car Radio guys did mention that I thought was a good point. I mentioned it from a tax and perspective and all that, but if he no longer leases that other space that he was leasing, he saves money by not paying that other lease and then moving this over to this space, and it lets him kind of combine his operations into one space to do multiple things that he's doing. So the smart investor, YouTube videos and everything can still operate. He's got a studio, all that, but then he's not paying multiple leases. So it might help him a little bit offset some of the cost of the lease of the bigger space. So I think that's a valid point. That is a good point there. Okay, so real quick, I'll get caught up here. Hockey United says, Carlos, why did Geoff also need to put the headline what store cost him? Because he literally does that in every video. I spent $50,000 at this card show. I spent $25,000 on this card. That is literally what he does. Not a good look. It's his entire brand. Devils 2-2 after being down 0-2. There you go. Good luck, Paul. Eyes in the sky. That's right, for security. Yes. Looks like an old Best Buy. It was a different chain, but it was a big box retailer that they took the space over from. I forget what it is, Orlando, but it was a big box retail. I didn't watch the video, but good for Geoff. Geoff! Hockey says, Carlos, it's ruined the relationship between SCI and the owner of Got Baseball Cards. This has been brought up. There's two things. Got Baseball Cards is about 45 minutes away. It's outside of Atlanta. But the answer to your question will come into whether this Cards HQ thing offers bulk submission services, which is directly in the partnership he's got with Got Baseball Cards. If they still receive cards and are still partnered with Got Baseball Cards in that way, maybe they came to an arrangement. If it's not, and Cards HQ suddenly becomes a bulk submitter for these things on their own, separate from Got Baseball Cards, then that's an indicator of a falling out. I would leave that to you as an indicator. It'll answer a lot of questions. The Battery Pavilion at Truist is a giant outdoor shopping center. Gotcha. Thank you, Defects. I do think hobby shops will need to be one-stop shops to survive in the purge that's coming. At least that's a big shop. What he's building is almost exactly what Fanatics has said they want. So he's definitely catering to what they said. And Michael Rubin did respond on his social media post saying, looking forward to supporting you. I'm paraphrasing, but it's something like that. So that's why I say, I don't know if there's a specific deal in place, but again, if I'm Geoff, I want to make sure that I've got a direct line. I want to make sure that hey, let's do business. And then we've got, some indicators that he's willing to do that.
I wonder if he was, I'm just thinking outside the box or inside the box store. I wonder if this was sort of a front for Fanatics in a sense.
We kind of played around with that idea. I was curious if there was a more than just, we're assuming a sweetheart deal on getting access to product. We're assuming a sweetheart deal. Now, the question we pose is there more to the point of possible equity? Is it a thing where they would actually, contribute directly to helping them succeed? Maybe that's a thing. But at the bare minimum, I would want a sweetheart deal on making sure I can get enough allocation and at a price that makes it, makes it work for me. Again, since breaking is literally one of the pillars they're building that store based off, I need a lot of product in this store, a lot of the new stuff.
Oh yeah, going forward, he has to be, he should be a multi-store of everything, like having an on-site grading submission place, for SGC or something. I don't know about that, but anyways, just saying. He needs to do all these things, but I think he's getting a little extra help from them, and I think they're probably doing that to support, because Geoff is the biggest name in the business in views and what have you. So going forward, I think that they want him or egged him on to doing this and saying, hey, listen, do you want to do, really, you guys want me to, okay, pay me out, okay, that's fine. And I think it's carrying the hobby in an upward trend, because it's all been downward as we're waiting, right?
Well, like I said, if you're going to give it a go, I would want to make sure that I have very strong friends who are going to support me directly. And if they are willing to do something like that, then it might make it more appealing to them. So that'd be my assumption. So here's a question for you, Eric. Have you met Ed Sanford of Sanford and Sons? Is this before or after you smothered him with a pillow, allegedly?
Yes, I have. It was many years ago. He's still a friend of the shop. He signs for us occasionally if we need something. His son comes in, gets the stuff that we need. He brings it back to his dad. I had him sign this several years ago. It's a beehive. Let me see here. I get his auto there for you.
I thought it was Sanford and Son, like the show.
Yeah. That's what I was saying, Bobby. That was my assumption. As soon as he mentioned his son too, I was like, that's what we're talking about, right?
I'm coming to join you, Wheezy. Wheezy, I'm coming to join you.
Just saying.
So that's Big Ed. I think he's the oldest one right now.
After that, I became a lot less interested. Rapidly less interested.
And we can still get things signed by him when we need to.
There you go. Paul here says 13,988 of the 14,000 square feet repacks. Bobbles, getting excited. Success is insured. Success is insured. I like it.
And they've been doing it since 91.
Amazing. I went to a game at Truist in Atlanta in 2021. It's about 40 or 45 minutes from the airport. Okay, gotcha. Gives a little far relative location. Yeah, that's a bit out of the way from the airport. He's brand building with lose draw. I agree with that. We joked about it being like, SCI world. It's going to be SCI branding left, right, and center. You're going to walk in and you're going to see Geoff's face all over the place somewhere. I can pretty much guarantee that. But I agree. It's definitely brand building. I wonder if he'll push NASCAR being in Atlanta. You got to do whatever you have to, whatever works for the local market. You want both, right? For the local market, you want to make sure it's literally what Burbank's done. If you walk to the Burbank store now, the way they've designed it, the intention is to provide a certain experience for the walk-up clientele. Like there's cards there that are not on the eBay store yet. So there's a period of exclusivity where if you walk in the front door, you get first dibs on the stuff. But what happens after a while, it goes on the eBay store, and then it's fair game. Anybody can buy it and take it straight from the inventory, and it's sold. You want to give the people who actually walk in the door a reason to walk in the door because they actually have an edge. But then you got to make sure the store is operating all the time to keep stuff moving.
I can see him having those buttons, those red buttons you push at where is it? Staples. That was easy. I can see hello as they all over the place.
I'm envisioning it right now.
It's just an idea, and I want kickbacks. Sorry. Go ahead.
I feel like it should be like an echo built into it. It echoes around the store
every time the door opens.
Could you imagine, Bobbles, if that was the sound when somebody gets like a big hit? It's not like Mojo or something else screaming. It's just literally hello. It'd be so annoying.
Employees would quit.
It was like I want a skunk box so badly. I just want quiet.
He has like little voice boxes built into the wrappers as you rip it. Hello.
Oh. So Eric, I changed my mind. I give it 2 months.
Yeah.
60 days. 60 days in the end.
I think you meant 24 hours instead of 24 months.
Yeah, basically.
24 days.
What happens next is what happens next what happened? It's like, what happened to the store? Arson. It was definitely an inside job. 100% inside job.
You're looking way past the. Oh, got it. Yeah, exactly.
Inside job, super inside job. Could not have been more inside.
A little bit more faith. I think it's going to be successful. I think it's going to be a destination place.
Why? Why do you think that? Why?
Because Eric's already booked his plane ticket.
I was gonna say what Eric hasn't told us is that he'd like to announce he's become the new, Buttnut has become the new general manager of SCI World over in Atlanta. He'll be going over there and he'll have his little Boston corner. They let him have his thing and they acknowledge Peabody, so now he's very excited about this.
Nope. Yeah, you can take a quick drive. It'll only take you about 16 hours and you're there.
Mm-hmm.
So what he also he's failed to announce to everyone is he secretly has created a second YouTube channel that he's going to do live watch parties of Geoff's breaks.
Amazing. I love it.
Yeah. I'll be 100%. I'll be tuning in.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right. So T206 Kid says here, Geoff is like, yeah. Geoff says, T206 here, good evening, says Geoff is like P.T. Barnum. He's more interested in experience in cars. One of us says exactly. No, I meant Fred Sanford of Sanford and Sons. About time. At least you got it right the second time. Big hit. If you want to come hard, Bob Jackson. Good evening. Eric knows his job there will be safe. Lots of floors to clean. I know.
14,000 square feet of them.
Yeah, I know. That's a lot of floors.
Listen, I've cleaned floors, man. I've been the custodian. Whatever. You pay. You got the money. I'll do the work.
That'll be the key, right? Yeah. Don't forget Worcester, town filled with wussies. There you go, Paul.
Yeah, Paul. Why don't you go down to downtown Worcester and yell that and see how long you're alive for?
Well, the problem is I don't know what Worcester is. I know what Worcestershire is.
Yeah.
Yeah. By the time it's done, it's like they're like, wait, he means us, right? I think he means us. Are you? Wait, and then all of a sudden they just start fighting each other. Problem solved.
Yeah. I think you should book a trip to downtown Worcester and just yell a whole bunch of things out and just.
I think it's a great idea.
Oh, look at I'm dead in under a minute.
Amazing. I saw a story the other day about how the Boston accent was the most annoying in America. Yeah, we Eric had that on Instagram. We might have had some fun with that. It worked out.
Yeah.
Yep. Some kind of had that on IG. I reported that shit right away. I know. Right. There you go. Ziggy here. Good evening. Dufex says, if Geoff was smart, which is a stretch, he'd immediately host private signing events. Well, we did, we threw that out. We said outside of the sports, you've got basically for that. Really, what it comes down to is this: you say 14,000 square feet, it means you need to basically justify the space, because if you're having 14,000 square feet, you don't necessarily need 14,000 square feet to run a card shop. If you're going to have that much room, you're saying, I want to use the space for this. So you're building a studio. Great. You're building all these pods for breaking. Fine. So you're saying breaking is going to be an important part of your pillars that you're doing for your stuff. Fine. You're going to have all these different areas and everything. But the point is, all this square footage, as much as you can, needs to be giving you a constant return on investment. So how do you do that? You move stuff in and out. You can't be sitting there housing a museum. You're not charging people admission for a museum. You want to sell stuff. Get it sold, and then buy new stuff and get that sold, and keep moving stuff back all over the place. So it's got to be constant flow. It can't be just waiting around for the perfect sale every time. It's like, no, you got to be constantly selling stuff.
At the end of the day, you'll end up with 100 square feet of storefront.
Yeah. But as I say, you're basically trying to if you look at those big box stores, whenever they're doing planograms and they're doing all that stuff, is they're trying to maximize the amount of sales they can generate out of the way the only reason planograms exist is because they're saying that we know that if we put certain things at eye level, they sell better. We make certain things at end caps, they sell better. So what do? We put stuff in there that we can make money on, margin. That's what we're doing constantly.
I think the ideal place to open a sports card store would be, where would that be, Carlos?
I don't know where you're going with this.
Vegas.
Oh, Vegas. There are card shops in Vegas right now.
Yeah, no, I mean, if you're going to open something, you might as well go in Vegas. It's cheap flights for everybody, regardless.
It is. If you really combine.
While in Atlanta, I don't know what you do. While in Vegas, I can.
Wish you weren't in Atlanta. That's what I would do.
That's it. Yeah, I'd buy one of those shirts. Yeah.
Yeah. That's why I would put it
in Atlanta, and I wish I was in Vegas.
Yeah, I was. It's like I took a wrong turn at Albuquerque. That's how I wound up here.
Albuquerque, that's in New Mexico. Anyways,
that's how wrong a turn it was. It was devastating. We went way off course. Woo! Last time we were this far offline, we went on a submarine that was barely experimented on. Too soon. Too soon.
That's the Manhattan Project.
Too soon.
Anyways.
There you go. Ziggy says, we get good hockey, regular season only, or until playoffs. It's taking shots at you, Eric. Taking a shot at your shirts. Terrible. Eric, have you met Jack Bionda? He was a Bruin in the late 50s, an amazing Canadian lacrosse player and rookie card. I think he also got the first NBA three-pointer.
Three-pointer too, yeah.
Jack who?
I have not.
Jack who?
Bionda.
Bionda? I never heard
That's
of him.
Yeah, Bionda. Bionda.
I've never heard of the gentleman, and I have not met him.
Did he even have a hockey card?
Fair question.
Probably had a lacrosse card though.
Yeah, that could be.
I did meet Cam Neely for the first time on Tuesday. That was cool.
Ooh, look at you.
He's a good old boy.
Jack Bionic scored the first 4-pointer in NBA history. That's exciting. That's historic.
Screw you, Bob.
Wrong sport. Oh well.
It happens, man. It happens. But at least he got a 4-pointer. That's important. I feel good about that. I feel better. So want to open it up here, a little bit of open discussion. We can talk about a lot of different stuff. But obviously, hockey season is underway. I did mention we'll spend a little more time focusing on that a little bit on the podcast this week. So we'll talk about that for sure. We're down to Final Four in baseball. So we're down to that. I'm looking forward to the Texas Civil War on the American League Championship Series. Well, so Bobby, in the Discord, we have Dakota representing Team Houston, and then we have Wes representing the Texas Rangers. So we got the interstate team holy war going on there. That's perfect. Yeah. And then over in the National League, you got, I think it's the Phillies and the Arizona Diamondbacks.
Yeah,
I believe that's right. So not so tough. Atlanta got eliminated. That's tough. Dodgers got eliminated again. It was Bob Jackson references here.
See, there goes another shot at Atlanta. They can't even win. How you going to
Eric go wrench?
Winning teams. Come on.
I still find that funny. I don't know why. I just find it funny.
You're a twisted man. What are you going to say? Defect says Texas versus Houston. No matter who wins, we all lose. See, I agree with you in principle, but I will say Bobbles and I have a very specific niche case where our entertainment value is going to come from the trash talking on the Discord with these two. That's why I made very clear. We got Dakota as one and we got Wes as another. Now, that won't help the rest of you. But for us, if we're going to have this and we don't have a choice, and this is our American League Championship Series, this is probably the best outcome that could have been outside of one of our teams actually being in it.
And we need a Houston Texans. I'm sorry for all the NFL fans. And like, believe me, I'm a Ravens fan. Carlos likes, Green Bay. Eric likes that team up in, whatever. We need at some point, even if it's a pretend Super Bowl, we need a Saints versus Texans Super Bowl. We need that one as well.
There you go. I like it. So both Texas teams can lose. That's also an acceptable outcome. But for now, I'll take the trash talking. I appreciate it. Jack Bionda, 57 tops, number 2 rookie. Exciting. No one cares. Until all the cheaters from the Astros are out of it. Go look it up. Until the cheaters of the Astros are out of the league, fuck the Astros. It's a common sentiment.
The Houston thing. We're back in Houston again.
Yep. Kamikaze says, Carlos, look at the card shop with his bank account situation and backing. A little different from Geoff's bank account situation and backing. How much turnover is needed to succeed? All right, so I make sure I read this. Little different for Geoff's bank.
Supports him, that's for sure. Like somebody else here.
There you go. So here's the thing: it doesn't matter whose bank account it is. Look, I don't care how much money you have. You shouldn't be going out of your way to start high. What's the best way to explain this? I wouldn't be looking to start a business that is a lot of work to set up and establish. That is a lot of cash inflow. Like, just from a business perspective, I don't care how many, he can have,
9-figure bank account.
Yeah, he can have Golden's 9-figure bank account. The best way to make that an 8-figure and a 7-figure and a 6-figure and a 5-figure bank account is to come up with a cash required kind of business that requires a ton of cash inflow just to get the gears going. And then to keep the thing moving. It's like there's a lot of way easier ways to make money in this current environment. If you have, he talked about his $3 million. If you got $3 million, man, you can get 5 or 6% on cash. If you got $3 million, you can make a lot of money not having to risk it at all.
That's why I think that Fanatics is involved some way, indirectly, directly, whatever.
That's fair. But that's it. That's
I'm marking that right now. What's the timestamp?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I said it.
no. But the thing is, I'm inclined to agree with you. But I'm saying there has to be a mitigating circumstance. Otherwise, you don't have to. Yes, branding. Yes, all the rest of the stuff. But look, there's cheaper ways to accomplish this task, unless there's something else that you're not fully sharing that the fix is in on. You got access and certain things that make it, oh yeah, this makes sense for me to do this.
Red marker case. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Whatever it takes, Bobby, whatever it takes. But you have to have something in this. The scales have to be tipped in your favor in some way that you know about to make it worthwhile. Otherwise, it's just a lot of cash outflow. Once upon a time, before he became, before he fully went under collectors, we had Brad give a little bit of a breakdown. I'll see if I can find the video. I actually did a clip of it. He explained what some of the stuff AMG used to have to do and what is required in order for him. And he gave some examples. And the thing is, even for a card shop, not 14,000 square feet, how much cash is required to constantly, you're having to pay all this money normally to distributors. And you're having to be like, you got to buy this product. You got to buy this product. You got to buy this to get allocation. You got to buy this product and this product. Now, if you got allocation no matter what, and you got a good deal that's going to work for you, so in other words, you can sell all the boxes, well, then fine, whatever. You're good to go. Move on.
Well, there isn't much margin on boxes, as we very well know.
Very little. Minuscule.
So what is the ploy here then?
If Fanatics is willing to give you that margin that you otherwise wouldn't have. Like if you are the one who gets that margin.
You have to be a hell of a margin.
That's what I'm getting at. So that's what I'm saying. I would love to know what arrangement, if any, if Fanatics is willing to give you the margin that makes it worth your while, that where you're way ahead of your competitors and you can basically undercut them left, right, and center, different story.
So maybe that's that's the in Fanatics has.
Maybe.
Or it could be a situation like you mentioned earlier, and this is just throwing this out there. I'm not saying this is the case. But it could be a situation, the margin on the boxes and all that stuff is a moot point because that's just money for Fanatics looking like it's coming through the Geoff Wilson Cards HQ shop in the breaking element. And Jeff's benefit of it is, as you mentioned, I think it was, you said Sports Card Radio talked about it. He's now no longer having to pay the rent at this other place or the lease at this other place. Now he's got the studio built in and all of that. So the benefit for him is the studio and everything. And then his branding to run it as a breaking point, but that's actually pulling in sales direct to Fanatics. Like maybe that part of it isn't a margin at all for Geoff. The benefit is the studio. And this is all hypothetical. Who the hell knows? But that's a possibility too.
Geoff is the surrogate for Fanatics, is what you're saying.
That was one of the scenarios we threw out. We said if, again, we'll find out more as we go along. But the point is, if it's a situation where all you're doing is transferring money from the left hand to the right hand, that's a different type of business than if you're actually having to run. If you're taking all the risk, then this is it's a crazy attempt. But if you've mitigated it because you already know the fix is in and all you're doing is transferring money from one hand to another, it's not nearly as risky. You've basically removed almost all the risk from it. And now your job is just to build it.
So indirectly, it seems like Fanatic went retail.
I'm just hoping the Philly Fanatic did it. Just looking at Kamikaze's thing, I know he put in, he's got in there, like if you look there, he's got the, I think that is the Philly Fanatic there with the Flyers jersey on. So all I'm saying is I want the Philly Fanatic to actually be the one to buy. So it turns out it's not Fanatics, it is the Philly Fanatic.
I get it. So, I can see it sitting here, you're sitting there. Okay. The best location we could open where? Atlanta. Okay. Check. Whatever. Let's 1,400 square feet, independent, no security. Oh, maybe we'll get some security. Check. How much are we getting the boxes for? From who? Who? Yes. Check. It's ready to go.
I would be not surprised at all if there was a kind of an arrangement. Like I said, I have to assume I'm giving him a certain amount of credit. If I give Geoff credit for not being a moron, I have to assume that he's already dotted some I's and crossed some T's before he even said one word about it. He goes, we already know kind of the thing is tilted in our favor. We're not going to share that part of it for you. Yeah, we're really excited. It's like, Geoff, how did you get 500 cases of this product when no one else can get a case?
Yeah.
We're overlooking the other possibility. Maybe his supply line is he got a hell of a deal buying out a bunch of stock that Panini isn't going to be able to use or release because everybody's trying to cut their damn contracts with him. So Geoff swooped in and was like, I'll take this and this and this and this. And he's going to do breaks with it. He's going to have Panini product there. And we're all sitting here blinded thinking that he's got the Fanatics ties. Dudes went behind us all and bought the Panini supply.
Amazing. Bobbles, couldn't we like, I think that would work. Look, secretly, don't you want one of the pods in his, breaker palace, his Tajma breaker? Wouldn't you like one of these pods to be exclusively repack breaks?
I think it would be a brilliant idea. It would create a lot of revenue for him.
All Panini.
Perfection.
I mean, why not?
Perfection. Carlisle here. Good evening. Good evening, gentlemen. Joining late after the Braves victory. Denial is an important first step in the grieving process. Fair enough, Carlisle. Do what you must. Do what you must. Okay, so folks in the chat, can I ask you a question? We can go in a couple different directions on it. We're going to get a chance to talk some more hockey on Monday, recorded for Tuesday to be brought in. But we do have the Final Four in baseball. We do have hockey happening. Basketball, I think, should be almost underway soon, right? I think it's coming real quick, so it's approaching. Let me ask first. Let's ask a question. And obviously, we got Carlisle here and a few other folks who are baseball west. What are you predicting? Who you got for the World Series? We're down to the Final Four, so now you got two teams. What are you guys thinking?
I think I'll be back.
Go for it. I'm going to make it easy for myself. I'm going to say Houston. Much to Wes's cursing, I think that'll be a thing. I think Houston. I'm going to go with Philadelphia because I do like Arizona is a little tough for me to consider. I think it's going to be Astros Philly. I'm not going to make a World Series prediction yet, but I'm putting Astros Philly as the World Series matchup that I foresee. That'd be my pick. A bit of an obvious one, unfortunately. I'm kind of going chalk on that, but I'm just throwing it out there as my thought based on where we're sitting. I'm looking forward to the memes. I'm looking forward to the verbal sparring back and forth. It's going to be fun for me, but I think it's going to be Houston and Philadelphia.
I think you're probably right on the teams. Unfortunately, at that point, I would rather them tie and neither team win. But if I had to, man, I don't even know. Like, that's a tough one because Philly has a guy that I hope never wins a World Series.
Yep.
But then they have, Trey Turner, which I like, and a couple other guys that were former Nationals that I wouldn't mind see get a ring. And then you have the Astros that I want to hate them because of the whole trash can thing, but at the same time, as a Nationals fan, I have the bragging rights because we beat them in the World Series. So it's tough. Do I want the Astros to win or do I want Bryce Harper to lose? Toss up. I really don't care.
There you go. Live it. 25th for NBA says Kamikaze. Ziggy Seer says Geoff's store will offer breaking cash liquidity in the same store. I agree. Well, they're going to have to be a one-stop shop. They're going to have to be everything. So I agree with that. Bob Jackson says anyone but the Astros. Fair. Like I said, I'm not picking who I want, but I'm just picking who I think. It was the same when I made the joke about the Josh Jacobs and the Raiders pick. Look, I would rather the Packers have won, but when I'm betting to try to win. I looked at it and I go, this is a very plausible scenario and I'm getting great odds. I'm trying to win. That's the reason I make that bet, not because that's what I want. Geoff here says Texas and Philly. Phillies win. Okay. Texas and Philly. You're thinking Texas overcomes Houston. Fair enough. Carlos says, I predict the Braves will win the World Series. ... Next season. Fair enough, Carl. Fair enough. Do what you must. I want the Phillies to win in Houston, so the Phillies fans ransack Houston. Ooh.
A story real quick that I think I haven't heard anybody mention, but it's kind of a pretty, I'm not going to say big story, but it's kind of an interesting and neat story. Did anybody realize that the New York Mets are in the ALCS? Because they definitely have Max Scherzer and Justin Verlander facing off against each other in the ALCS. How interesting is that?
Almost as exciting as Bobby Bonilla Day. Not quite, but almost as exciting as Bobby Bonilla Day. Few things are as exciting as Bobby Bonilla Day.
That was a rhetorical.
It has to be great for Mets fans. They have to feel good that they had both players and they're both in the ALCS.
I like it.
You guys don't really you guys don't really want me to comment on this baseball stuff, right? Because
you could tell us about the '86 Boston Red Sox lineup.
I could, if you want to hear about Spike.
That might be a good World Series pick for you.
Yeah, I'm still waiting for them to win.
Someday, Eric, if you believe hard enough.
About a month ago, I saw Bruce Hurst. I wanted to go over to him and be like, I'm still very angry, but I don't think he would have been like, oh, gee, I'm really sorry. I think he would have been like, get the hell away from me.
Not like the compassion that you would expect from me and Bobbles.
Right.
Regale about Bill Buckner. probably not the time.
I can honestly say, and I this is not hyperbole. I am telling the 100% truth. I did not watch 1 minute of baseball this season. Total. I did not watch.
Well, they probably had the games on at the shop. You just weren't ever there.
And I turned my back and go down to the hockey counter and I worked down there.
Eric, this is why you're you and why Bobbles and I are here. We're problem solvers. Yeah. Instead of doing all that nonsense, you could have just brought a welding mask into the store. And when the moment is right, you just drop the welding mask. You can't see shit.
Yeah. I just turned my back. I just go work.
Welding mask, Eric. You could just be like, done.
All these coworkers are at the front of the store watching, some final play in the 9th, and I'm down at the back of the store with my back turned working and going, people are idiots. That is so freaking boring.
Well, you were at the closet getting out your broom, mop, all that, right?
Yep, absolutely. I am always vacuuming the floor. I hate it when it gets dirty.
So I have a question since I know there's a good bit of hockey folks in here and Eric, and I've already discussed this with you, Carlos, but I'm just curious. I'm curious. It's done and over with now. I'm not upset at all about it. I'm curious of what other people would have done though. I had an offer come in yesterday on a Cale Makar Young Guns clear cut. It was graded SGC 10. The offer was for $2,250. Good sale, bad sale. What is people's outlook on Makar? Because my thought was last year he got banged up. He's had concussions. He's a great player, but I don't see much upside from that on that card. And the risk of further concussions could mean a short career. So I'd just like to hear everybody's take on that. What would you have done? Held off early season, see if you had a hell of a year this year and maybe get a little bit more for it, or let that baby go and take the money and run?
I'm a big take the money and run. Bird in the hand's worth 2 in the bush. And if someone's offering me $2,000 for something, I'm all over that.
Take the cash and go quickly, especially after concussion. Once one happens, after that, you never know. So you're losing. You have a spot on his history right now. So when they don't have any spots, go forward. Otherwise, pivot. $2,000 is not, jump change. Yeah. How much do you
Jeff
got?
Here says, a lot. Jeff here says sell. He doesn't.
How much do I have into it?
Yeah.
You pulled that one, didn't you?
We pulled it, and then I graded it back when grading was $8 a card.
Okay,
look, you guys. I got 3 consecutive comments. Jeff says sell. Paul says take that sweet green. Vintage Oddball Cars. Rick says sell yesterday.
Yeah. I did sell yesterday. It's already sold. It's already on its way to authentication. I was just getting opinions. I've already done it. I was getting opinions.
Yeah, but also I would add kind of the points made also is that look, the problem is he's a defenseman. Unless he is the second coming of Booby Orr, I don't care. Sell the damn thing. Sell the damn thing. They don't get the love. They won't. Yep. So there is going to be a collector base, but not enough to sustain the thing. It's you're talking literal thousands of dollars, plural, thousands. Take that shit and go.
Yeah, $2,000. You know what kind of Bobby Orr car you can get for $2,000? Honestly, these new guys with potential, that's silly money.
Amazing.
Yeah, I actually wasn't expecting the offer to come through because I've had it up for a little while. I think I listed it towards the end of last season. And yeah, yesterday morning the offer came through, and I was like, I looked at the past sales. A BGS 9 had sold for $1,100, and then a PSA 9 sold after that for $900, and I was like, yeah, this just makes too much sense. So,
yeah.
accept, enjoy.
Makes
Enjoy.
sense. Sounds about right.
And
Rock
how
Latex
much is it going to
says
be potentially worth even down the road if you could mathematically cut
that was my contention, Bobby. I don't think
$3,000.
there's a scenario where it goes up.
That's why I said
Not
I
much.
didn't
Like,
see
I don't see it.
much. Yeah,
That's
I
a
didn't
sports
see
book.
much
That's a
future,
scoring
if
record.
anything, getting better than what that offer was.
Hey,
So
Listen, say the kid doesn't have any more issues and he plays another 10 years and it makes it into the Hall of Fame.
Still not going up.
Is that card still going to be worth more than $2,000? I don't
Nope.
think so.
probably not.
I think this is unless you sold
If
it.
we're alive, then
Unless you sold it 2 years ago.
If the meteorite hasn't destroyed us before that.
yes, exactly.
Rock Latex says, what caused Eric to hate baseball? The 86 Red Sox. They are the epicenter of his pain. What defenseman has held Valley for most of his career? Only Boubior.
Bork.
Bork actually, I think, was higher at one point. It came down. I think he holds value, but I think his apex was right around the time he won that cup. I don't think it's gone up since then. There are cards that'll do okay, and then the boom is its own thing with his rookie and stuff like that. But I'm just talking about general Ray, like a Ray Bork card, like a Ray Bork autograph out of 100 would have been really good at that time. Today you can get it. You can get it pretty cheap. Like it's not crazy. You can get a lot of Bork stuff, really inexpensive.
But some keep Clancy in there. So
I'm just saying, some people collect Ray Bork cards. I collect Ray Bork.
Ooh,
we're back to the stalking thing again.
Yeah,
Eric.
He comes in like every handful of months, and
that doesn't mean kidnap him and put him in your dungeon.
I'm just saying, I just
when in Rome.
He comes in, we hang out. I have him sign a bunch of stuff. Phil hands him cash. He goes golfing.
Try inviting him into your van that says free candy on the outside of it.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting. Moving on.
I just saw him again the other night.
Those Boston-shaped suckers. I know what happened.
Mm-hmm. Average Joe Kirkler says, except the in case he's watching, he did. So we're good on that card.
Yeah.
Never to the guy. He's all right. He's a good player. Historically, defensive rookies are the highest of rookie year and rarely, if ever, go up. Yeah, that's what I mean. Like very rarely. It's a tough position. You're just not going to get that much out of it.
I just hope the buyer's not listening.
There you go.
It went to authentication, final sale, so it doesn't matter.
Oh, once it goes through there, you can't come back on it?
Nope.
Mm-mm.
As long as the card is what it says it is, and there's no issue with that, it's done.
So that 60, 90-day thing doesn't really matter anymore.
Not anymore. Not with authentication.
Not on
that's actually even
authentication
better.
stuff.
So that's a benefit to that disaster.
For the seller, the authentication, that piece of it is actually really good. Because
so
as long
can't
as
change your mind, and that's smart.
You can sit there and as soon as authentication says, it means they sent it to you. It wasn't damaged. It wasn't inaccurate. There wasn't an issue with it. It's yours. You own it, dude.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
No comebacks.
What do you guys think I should do? Speaking of Ray, next time I see him, should I have him sign this? Like
no.
I was gonna say kerosene is good, gasoline is good.
Thin.
There's a lot of accelerants.
It's got a good spot up there.
You'd have to write with a baby
Sharpie, like
mini cut pencil or something.
Right
so
there.
You can get it in.
Thin blue Sharpie right there.
Right there. You sign very
You could use an X-Acto, and that way he could engrave his signature onto it.
I just think that would look really cool.
I don't think so.
And then you could fill it in with silly putty.
And I know this is out of like 30. It's number 4 out of 35. And, some people would say, if you write on it, it's ruined. But I don't care. I just think it would look great autographed.
Are you really looking for things for him to autograph?
I've run out of things. I got to find stuff.
There you go.
I have so much stuff of his autographed that I have him sign all the time.
And Ray was very clear about this. He would not sign any more body parts for Eric.
Ooh.
He was very clear about this.
Mm-hmm.
The line has been drawn.
I got so many Ray Bork autographs. I don't know what to do with them all. I'm lousy with them.
He's catching up to power.
Mm.
I mean, the weather's about to get cold.
He's coming to Toronto.
No, Johnny Bauer's not coming to Toronto. Johnny Bauer's very dead.
No, but Ray is.
That's fine.
Every retired player is coming to Toronto this week.
Yeah,
that's right.
Coming,
it's a pretty stacked lineup. Let's be honest. It's a pretty stacked lineup.
Yeah,
that is a fact.
Anybody getting the autographs
for Toronto?
I might get Tyson's.
Oh, Tyson's not a bad choice. Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah. Well, actually,
maybe Ric Flair could chop you. Does Ric Flair have a VIP chopping package?
Nah, he wouldn't sign for me in 1976, so fuck him.
No, but Bobby, what I want is a chopping package. I would pay him to chop Eric.
Got you. Yeah,
I'm going to do that.
We can get a GoFundMe. Like we can make this happen. It'd be amazing. Sensational.
I'm in. Like Fanatics is in on Geoff Wilson. Anyways,
done. Fantastic. Eric collects Bruins players' phone numbers and Marcel Dion's. Indeed. Eric knows where Marcel sleeps in his basement.
I just saw him last Saturday. Marcel, Monday. Sorry, this week.
Yeah, where'd you see him?
He's another show.
Another show. That guy just was he a dealer or was he signing or both?
No, a dealer. He's just a dealer, and he sets up and he does some signing if you want to sign something. I don't know if he even charges. I don't think so.
I was too busy disapproving of Eric the last time at the last expo, but
he signs if you buy something.
Yeah. That's kind of what I figured. I figured you buy something, he'll sign it for you. That's kind of the deal. Yeah.
And he sells nothing under $400. So
there you go.
That's not true.
In the closet behind Eric is where he sleeps. I know. It's crazy. It's pretty rough out there in these streets. All right, so we touched on the Final Four. We got some predictions, so thank you all for that. We'll definitely touch on it some more. Like I said, we'll enjoy the Civil War in the Discord. That'll be very entertaining for us. Okay, so I know a lot of folks here are hockey oriented. So, all right, how you feeling? We started the season. We've got a couple of things going on. We've got a couple of storylines. I joke with Bobby and everything that Austin Matthews became the second youngest guy in the current iteration after Ovechkin to score 300 goals. I don't think he's going to sustain it, but it's still very impressive. Like under 500 games, 300 goals, that is extremely impressive. Well done by him. And he got a hat trick in that game and everything. So I expect he'll probably, if he stays healthy, he'll have a good season scoring wise, I'd say.
I don't see him staying healthy. I think he's a risk.
We always have to put caveat. The caveat's always there.
He had the wrist problem, the operation. He had another problem with his, what was it, back or neck or something, or concussion? No? Was it something
I don't remember.
early on?
I
remember he missed a lot of games and he was hurt a few times.
Oh, considering the age he's at, I think he's 26, and he's got 300 goals. He's managed enough with the time he's been able to play. So the games he's playing, he's doing enough. So we'll have to see. We'll see what happens going forward. Anything you guys are looking forward to hockey wise? Eric's looking forward to his team, dousing the stench of last season off of them. That's kind of what he's hoping for.
I would say word for word, that is what I'm looking forward to. But I am concerned with them.
You realize they're still Boston Bruins?
I realize.
I'd be concerned. That's a big concern of mine. Huge.
It is a concern. But they lost a lot. Now, we all know that they had a monumental collapse because their season.
A Hindenburg disaster.
Hindenburg. Yeah. Because their season was so great. Well, the players that made that season so great and made them the favorites to win the Stanley Cup last year when the playoffs started, they lost a lot. They lost Bertuzzi, who's a heck of a player. They lost Foligno, which is one of the best leaders in the league. They lost Taylor Hall, that when healthy and motivated is a dominant player, former MVP of the league, overall #1 pick. They lost David Krejci, a possible future Hall of Famer. They lost Patrice Bergeron, a definite future Hall of Famer. They lost a lot. And
in the first round.
And they lost in the first round. So for those who think that they're going to be as good as they were last year, it just isn't going to happen. There
were some that argued. I remember once upon a time, since we like referencing the past, Bobbles, I remember a man who said the regular season didn't matter for the Boston Bruins. Now, Eric did steadily change his tune. No. Eric did change his tune as we got closer to the playoffs. Eric realized the folly of his ways, and he started to mitigate. He started going like, well, if the postseason doesn't work out in the regular season, but if we go further back in the tapes, Eric was quite keen on the regular season. He was quite a fan in the earlier portion of the regular season. And then all of a sudden he realized the folly of his ways. He goes, oh no, I need to stop. And the problem is he was too late. He had already gone too far. He had already flown into the sun and incinerated in a ball.
The only
of
thing I
flames.
remember is that he was a Toronto Maple Leafs fan.
He was a lot of things. He was a lot of things. Once the playoffs
through that stage, yeah,
he went through a lot of identity crises.
Denial, be a Leaf fan, depression.
I don't recall that.
He became a Florida Panthers fan briefly, much to Orlando's chagrin. That was a problem.
One, yeah.
I do not recall that either.
That was the 7 stages of, yeah.
And he also said, if I remember correctly, that his pick, his definite no chance, no doubter pick was the Carolina Hurricanes.
Oh, that was a good one too. Yeah, I remember that one.
I don't recall that.
Yeah.
It was literally it was what's the opposite of immaculate? What's the opposite? Like complete. Yeah, it was like ooh. It was pretty rough out on these streets.
I don't recall any of the things that you guys are bringing up.
You were better off picking.
You don't recall any of Eric. Eric, hold on, everybody.
To win.
Eric, you don't recall this?
No, I don't recall.
Really?
No.
The NHL's all-time win record now belongs to these Boston Bruins. They win their 63rd game of the season.
A few moments later.
On him. Verhaeghe wins the series for Florida, and this joyride ends in a Hindenburg-like ending. The Bruins are the second record-setting team in a row to drop the series in the first round.
I think I saw.
Then it goes through a lot of tweets and a lot of the thing. The point is that I remember quite well.
Did you see Turgeon? He was driving to the front. Went, oh,
ooh, man, that was rough.
Yeah.
The Hindenburg disaster burned really well though. Bobbles. It burned pretty good.
Hey, do you know they found another tape for that for the Hindenburg just recently? Ooh. Yeah, it was actually a frontal view, so they actually figured out how exactly it really went down. The wind caught it. It couldn't gain stability, I guess, and that's what really caused it to explode. Whatever, it was getting caught in the tailwind.
Yep, pretty much. I'll quickly read a couple of these here. Saw Nat Turner post on Instagram. Thought it would never. Junk Wax with Jackson card. It's also one of my favorite cards. Nat Turner for all of he has a lot of high end stuff that he showcases, but he likes the Junk Wax stuff too. And the Bo Jackson was a legend. Like in that era, Bo Jackson was huge. Last check, Alex Lafreniere and Bernard a tied a goal scorer who's leading in the end. Like I said, I actually think Bedard's going to get a lot of chances to shoot a lot. I don't think the team's going to be good. It's not going to reflect on team success, but I think he'll get opportunities to shoot. And if he gets enough opportunities to shoot, he'll score a couple of goals. I think he'll be all right. It'll be a fun season for him anyway. No expectations either. He's 18. Let him shoot and just have some fun. And basically, if he can stay healthy and just shoot away, it'll be a good season for him to get some experience. That's all it's for. Tyson's allowed in Canada. He is. Spurs Card 21. Good evening. Good evening.
In all seriousness, hold on. Just for a quick
bag.
I am surprised that Tyson's allowed in Canada. If you get a DUI in the United States, Canada does not want you in, and you have to
DUI.
Yeah, if you get arrested for drunk driving in the United States of America,
no,
it is difficult. It is, Bobby. I'm telling you, this I used to do this for a living. Canada does not want you in, and it is very difficult to get into Canada, and you have to go through many hoops to be able to get in there. The fact that they are allowing a convicted rapist in, but not somebody who had one too many at a wedding, is surprising to me.
Yeah, I thought it had to be a felony related occurrence that you couldn't travel.
Canada does not want you in if you have a DUI on your record, but they're going to let a convicted rapist in. It just, some things in life don't make sense.
Well, you see, Eric, this is how it goes.
He offered them pigeons,
and he might punch you while you're there if he's.
Yeah, I was gonna say he might. Yeah, I was gonna say that's the thing.
He's watching.
It might be a Mike Tyson punch and a Ric Flair chop. There might be a lot of punishment happening.
Thank God, I don't think Ric Flair has ever been convicted of anything, but that man
he probably should be.
that man has committed crimes, and everyone knows it.
He's been indicted, but never charged. Yes.
Yeah.
I watched his excuse for last match. That was a crime against my eyeballs. It was pretty rough. Also, you're going to see the Iron Claw. I imagine it'll be a happy movie, no doubt. I haven't looked into it. I know what you're talking about, but I haven't looked into it. We feel sorry that he lost some of his ear. There you go. Yeah, we took pity on Tyson.
Tyson didn't lose his ear. He bit Holyfield's ear. Tyson's ears are fine.
Look, he owned it after he got it. It's possession is three quarters of the law.
Yeah, and it's protein too.
And he didn't get a full ear out of it.
No, just a lobe.
Mm-hmm. Carlin says, "What if you rape a drunk driver?" That's a murky legal thing. We might need some representation on that one. Liquor's got away with a lot. Oh yes, he has.
Oh, listen, I've always known the guy was not a good human being.
Dare you say not a swell fella?
Not a swell fella. But when I watched that wrestling show, whatever the hell it was, about that
it was Dark Side of the Ring. Dark Side of the Ring.
I would not accept a free Ric Flair autograph after seeing.
And they let him in Canada, Eric.
That's because he's not convicted of anything when he should have been many times.
Listen. Ric Flair is a huge Dallas Stars fan, so you're going to need to stop talking bad about the man. Okay? That's it.
Okay. I'm
Tone
sure.
it down.
I'm sure when you explain that to the flight attendant that he's scarred for life, she'll go, "Oh, I didn't know he was a Stars fan. My bad."
Bobbles will explain something about J-Rob, and it'll be fine. Don't even worry about it. It'll be fine.
He'll be like,
smoothed over.
I completely forgive him for scarring me forever with his behavior. I had no idea he was a Dallas Stars fan. My apologies.
As you should.
A little late.
Ric Flair's a man who
apologies out of the film, and we'll go
that's
forward.
right. Ric Flair's a fan of whoever gives him money. I think he's done like that thing where he'll they'll do the thing on the jumbotron and he'll woo for the team or whatever. But I swear he's done it for like he did it with Carolina too, didn't he? Like I'm pretty sure he did it with Carolina for sure, Dallas for sure, and there's probably a couple other ones that I'm not thinking of right now where they're like Ric Flair was here
at games last year at the playoffs. For the Stars.
But I think he did a Carolina one too. Like I'm being serious. I think he did a Carolina one as well, if in memory.
So he's Eric when his team loses.
He's shameless. Yeah. He's a whore whoever will take him, pretty much.
Ric Flair cut himself at almost every show. He must have made some money from that. Do you remember seeing all the old wrestling magazines? And he's always got blood.
Well, the biggest problem, Bobby, is that Ric Flair is one of those cases that shouldn't be the problem that it is. Because Ric Flair has made a ton of money over such a long period. And the thing is, literally, if the guy could get out of his own way, Triple H, Paul Levesque, who's over in WWE and now has a lot of control of it, he would literally give the man a job for the rest of his life. All he has to do is just don't cause trouble, and he would literally find him a job, and he'd make enough money to live the rest of his life in comfort if he could just get out of his own way.
I think
no problem.
Come back the rest of his life in comfort anyway.
No, but the thing is, Bobby, like he would pay him enough that most people would be more than happy. He'd be very comfortable. He'd be fine, but he can't get out of his own way. He can't stop. He can't stop.
Not a swell fella.
Nope.
Not swell.
Yeah, St. Louis. Yeah, Ric Flair did it for the Hamilton Tiger. That's true. That is true.
Hamilton Tigers,
he even goes to the CFL. That's how good it is. He'll go anywhere.
Amazing.
Ric Flair night, St. Louis Blues, March 23. Okay, gotcha. Thank you, Bob. Ric Flair drank and snorted most of his money. He drank a lot of it for sure, no doubt.
Oh, God, yeah.
I'll tell you who I would like to see more, like doing commentary and stuff in hockey, because I just feel like it would be good, but it would also be very hilarious. And I know he likes hockey and enjoys hockey, but that's Snoop Dogg. If you remember when he did the Olympic thing, that was hilarious. And he's a big Kings fan. So I think he would be interesting to do some commentary and stuff.
We got a nice story to hear from David follow up on that Snoop Dogg thing.
Oh, good.
It's
I'm
amazing.
excited.
He hasn't told me at all, but he's
so Bobby, does that mean we have to set up the dinner reservation and then make sure?
all done.
Make sure.
Yeah, Dave's
All right.
He's gonna regale us the best of what happened.
Good.
And it's amazing.
By the way, Bobbles, that's legit. That's a story that we'll get a chance to hear. That'll be fun. That'll be a good one. I'm looking forward to that.
Oh, that'll be good.
It's still too soon, but I mentioned that the expo is less than a month out, but at the same time, it's like I'm looking forward to it. We got a lot of stuff done. My hotel accommodations are all taken care of. I don't remember if it was Eric or Bobby. I was joking with it. It's like I went and got one of the suites that have like a whole living room area and everything. I'll probably just do the live stream from there. So we'll see what happens. I got myself a good spot.
It'll be a party. We'll get 16 people in there, have some fun.
Oh, I'll invite Marcel. I'll invite the hockey players that are in town. We'll all hang out, and we'll basically exclude Eric.
I think Ric Flair will come too.
Oh, Ric Flair will come. Is like, cut him off. All you're gonna see is video. Cut him off.
Guy's a mess.
And then Tyson will show up, and it'll be one of those, what happens in Vegas.
Tyson can stay, but send Flair out. Tyson can stay, but send Flair out. Ric Flair is also Star Search fan with Ed McMahon. There you go. A little bit of Snoop commentary goes a long way. True. Very true. See, I don't know. I think the only real storyline, hockey-wise, that I think is going to be interesting, obviously, is we're going to see if Ovechkin is able to, because I think he's playing tonight against the Penguins.
Yeah, they were down 1-0 last I looked.
Yeah, and it'll be interesting to see if Ovechkin, last season was okay for him, but obviously he's going to slow down as we get further along here. But if you could have something resembling a decent season by his standard, it'll let him chip away. Let him chip away. Yeah. So anything in the high 30s or low 40s would be great for him because it makes next season a little bit easier. And I still feel like it's 3 seasons. I still feel like it would have to be 3. But a good season this year will really go a long way towards making sure that happens. And then I think 2 years after that, he passes Gretzky.
They're down 3-0. They're down 3-0 to Pittsburgh. Crosby has 2 goals tonight, 3 on the season.
Crosby's off to a good start too. That's another thing, by the way. The funny thing is, it's all relative, right? Like he was Sid the Kid or whatever, but like Crosby's like 35, 36 now.
Yeah.
He's not really a kid anymore. Now he's the elder statesman in the game to the point that he's playing against the guy who idolized him.
Well, you saw the first game, right? What the ref said during puck drop about, Sid, welcome to your, whatever, 25th year in the league or whatever.
It's not quite that bad.
And, and Connor, welcome to your first, and, let's have a good night, and drops the puck.
Yeah.
So,
I'll tell you, outside of Ovi's age, the Capitals just don't have as good of a team as he's been around either.
No, I think Bubbles, I'm going to be honest with you. If Ovechkin's going to have a good season, it's going to be because they're going to realize very quickly that team isn't going anywhere, and they're going to be just feed Ovi the puck. Just he should literally just get like 15 shots a game. Just let him shoot.
And you know what I found out from? Sorry.
No, go ahead, Bobby.
You know what I found out from Dave is that in Pittsburgh, the players deliver season tickets to the people.
Okay.
So
nice.
I've seen a couple of videos with Sidney Crosby going up to the house. They're all ready for him, waiting for him. It's like, here's your tickets. Thanks so much. And that's been a long running tradition for Pittsburgh. I never knew that.
I think it's a great one. I think that's
all the players get a certain amount and then just go out and they do it. It's like
I think that's really good though to keep the the connection because these are your season ticket holders. These are people who literally paid good money to buy these tickets. So you give them something.
Yeah,
I think it's a good idea. I agree.
Well, they almost went bankrupt twice, so there you go.
Yeah, they did. So that's the thing. It's like so right now it's good, but if he's off to a good start, like last year he got in the 90s points wise, so it was a good season for him. Crosby points wise. So if he can play another good season, like he's going to the Hall of Fame anyway. But now it's just a matter of like, okay, so where do you want to stack yourself up relative to some of the other greats in the game? He's got the 3 Stanley Cups, so that's fantastic. That's a feather in his cap, and the accumulation stats are all there. It's just a matter of like, where does he rank himself relative to some of his contemporaries and some of his future sections of the Hall of Fame. So I'll get at it. It says, Carlos, are any bad baseball refractor inserts in the 90s? '94, I wasn't a big fan of because you can hardly tell it's a refractor. That's a tough one. Refractor inserts, though. Inserts. I want to say there was like a Bowman's Best that was like an insert. It wasn't the base set. It was a Bowman's Best. And that's another one. I don't think that one. But I think there was one where they did like a Bowman's Best. And I think they did it in hockey where they inserted these into packs. It was an insert, but you had a refractor version of it as well. But any insert, so the way I would answer this is any insert, baseball or hockey, where you can barely tell it's a refractor is a bad insert or base. Because some of the designs do not do well at showcasing the refractor technology because the color. Silver is really good for refractor technology. If you have silver, it tends to pop. You can really see it. Some of the colors, though, do not do well. If it's super dark, it does not do well. It completely covers it up.
Yeah.
Totally covers it up. Yeah, so here's one. Topps Chrome Hidden Gems for Paul. Football set, but you can barely tell. Yeah, and Topps 2015 Chrome is crap too. Yeah. So to me, I don't care the sport. If you can barely tell it's a refractor and you went through the trouble of doing the technology, that's a bad refractor set.
Well, I'm going to segue that into just sharing real quick on 90s inserts. And me, you, and Wes have had this discussion, but
sure.
I have to, if Billy's listening, I have to give it a big shout out to Upper Deck, bringing back the inserts from the 90s.
Yep.
And actually making them difficult to hit. That's actually really exciting and good on their part. The only
now to showcase, that's the linchpins that you got in your hand there.
This is a linchpins, yes. And this is the first time that hockey has ever had the linchpins.
And that's Bobby's favorite player right there.
This is the Austin Matthews. I pulled this out of Metal Universe.
Yeah.
Was very excited to see that they included the linchpins because that is one of my favorite sets. I have the Griffey. I have the Emmitt Smith. I think I have one or two others, but was excited to see these. They also did the hot numbers, which is the lenticular design. They actually made it look like the old ones.
And the lenticular is a good move for that. It's a good move for hot numbers. I agree with that.
Yep. And
I'll
then
be back in a second.
I'll show this one. The missus is on a hot streak with Metal Universe last year. She pulled a Kraken rookie auto and a Kraken PMG, and this year she pulled the Matty Beniers rookie auto. So we had some fun, opened some wax. The only thing I love that they did this. It's just amazing to me that I guess the collectors in the hobby, even though these are tough hits, are not valuing them even near what the price of the wax is costing. There is definitely an imbalance right now of the appreciation of the cards themselves and what the products are costing. They included the Hot Shots, which is a die cut that looks like the Fire, and just some quick looking in. I want the Jason Robertson of that, but some quick looking into it. Connor McDavid on the Hot Shots is only selling for roughly $100. Best player in the league right now. A card that is 1 in 600 packs, which I believe is 1 in 40 boxes. That's just a bit crazy that it doesn't even cover the box price. And it takes 40 boxes to hit one of them. And the best player isn't even the value of what the box costs. So that's a bit unfortunate, but props to Upper Deck. I am excited that they're doing all these 90s inserts and actually making them tough to hit. I think that's fun. So.
Yeah, I like that product. I like the Mental Universe. Yeah, it's really good.
The Mental.
Well, they're
metal. Sorry.
Oh, metal.
They're doing the 90s inserts in more sets though. So
yeah. Oh well, the thing is, Billy's not the only one at Upper Deck that does it, but he definitely gets inspiration going back to the class. Plus, for Metal Universe, they know. Because they'll use Skybox. They'll use a lot of Skybox stuff in there as well. And you can see a flavor of that.
That's a horrible flavor.
A lot of the 90s guys, though, love the Skybox, man. They love the Skybox.
I guess it was cheap and they could all afford it. So I guess it's still cheap.
98 Bowman baseball refractor is bad. That'd be a good example there. Works out. Let's see. When John Belleville retired in 1971, he wanted Frank Mahovlich in the Canadiens uniform to replace him. Terrible. How many three-pointers did he hit? No one cares.
Nope.
Hey,
Is that a question?
Hey, you leave Pinko de Mayo alone.
He's wrong. No three-pointers. Don't care. Clearly a better product than Topps Gold Label. Even more wrong than Pinko de Mayo. Moving on.
Paul, I am going to punch you right in the throat. I swear.
Bobbles, I want this. I want this battle. He's promising throat punches. I want this. This is the kind of thing we need.
I thought we weren't doing violence. I thought we were supposed to be nice to people.
I'm trying to be a man of peace, and over here, Eric is violating that too.
There's nothing better than Topps Gold Label when it comes to modern cards, and you can just suck a whole bag of them because you're an idiot.
Bring it on, man. I love it. I love it.
This is the best product.
Oh, get your ass up here for Expo. Let's go. Let's go, Paul.
The early 2000s.
Get your ass up here for Expo. We'll direct you
no
to
DUIs.
You'll be able to see Eric from the screams through the Ric Flair chops.
Oh, yeah.
Look at this. Here's another one. Here's another gold label.
Yeah, that's the gold label as well, yeah. Remember, I always thought it was weird when they did the memorabilia stuff, but I think they did an okay job. The base cards are really well done with those ones. Those are good. Yeah. And then there's some of the various parallels. I like the fact they changed the background picture. I just like the gloss of it. And you've got kind of a refractor sheen look to it.
Totally refractory. That's totally refractory. Come on.
Yeah,
look at that.
That's what it is.
There's rainbowy in there. You just got to get the thing right. I got the stupid sleeve on here, so you can't really see how wonderful these are. Oh, up in, baby.
There it is.
Hey, listen, for all of Eric's like vintage style ways, like he's here pumping the gold label. Bobbles, he's pumping the gold label pretty good there, man.
Fell in love. I can't help it.
There you go. Now you know. See, it melted the warm old man heart of Topps Gold Label here, and you're talking to me about the pansiness that is metal. Yes. Get out of here.
No, that's why I'm gonna punch him in the throat.
It's Raimundo Borquet. There you go. There. So I think early storyline wise, I think those are good ones. The pursuit of the Gretzky record, continued pursuit. I think that's going to be a big thing. But yeah, I think Bobbles is right though. I think the Capitals are going to be trash. It's basically Ovechkin or bust. The coverage is going to be like, if Ovechkin scores a goal, we'll pay attention. Otherwise, we won't even acknowledge the team exists.
No.
Yeah, we don't care about the Capitals. Just get out of the way.
We haven't cared about them since 1974 when they came in the league.
They won a Stanley Cup, Bobby. They had 1 year.
There was Paul Mateer. He was on there for a few years, so I'll give him that in the 80s.
There you go. They did win a Stanley Cup, Bobby. They won a Stanley Cup.
Yeah, but does anybody, what year? Nobody remembers.
I want to say 17 or 18, 16. It was 18,
16, 17.
One of them. Bobby, one of them.
It was the first year the Vegas Golden Knights were a team. Come on.
There you go. There you go. Oh, question. So here's the kind of an open end. By the way, if you guys want to chat about something else, just let us know in the chat. We'll adjust. But we may as well talk about this a little bit here. Do you feel the Golden Knights are a good candidate to repeat, or do they have a lot of struggle with that? Do they underperform relative? How are you guys feeling?
I think they should come close again. We'll see.
Well, here's a added question to that. If they repeat, does that put Jack Eichel ahead of Connor McDavid?
See, I like this question. I think this is so. The answer is no, but I do think
yes, that's all.
But here's what's interesting though. Like let me take the concept of the question. Just in general terms, no, because he just can't match up to what McDavid has actually done with his numbers and his stats and what he's accumulated in the time period he's done. And no one considers Jack Eichel to be the best player in the league. Regardless, he could win 5 more Stanley Cups and nobody considers him to be the best player in the league.
No.
However, it is hard to argue that having multiple Stanley Cups doesn't put him in good stead for his rookie class. And another Stanley Cup win and continued good play and being a great player would cement Hall of Fame credentials, because you get championships, and if you continue to be a good player, you will build the resume that will get you in the Hall of Fame.
Here's where, and this is another reason I brought this up. So you're talking McDavid is above at stats, but Eichel gets respect because theoretically, if he gets cups, they both were pretty hyped coming in. Yeah. Eichel gets put in Buffalo, where I learned very quickly in collecting hockey cards, nobody gives a shit about Buffalo hockey.
Well, except for Tom Bowley. Except for Tom here. Tom's a Buffalo guy. He cares about Buffalo.
Yeah.
Well, like nobody cared about Buffalo hockey from what I gathered, and then he moves over to Vegas, and his first year he had injury or whatever.
Yeah.
But then when he gets to come back and second year plays, they win a cup. If he goes back to back, is that the same comparison? And I'm not taking anything away from Sid, but I think a lot of people have moved Ovi above Crosby in a sense because of the record he's going after statistically. But Sid was the guy above because he had the cups. So, like, could that be a similar thing there? Sid and Ovi with.
I think the problem though is that Sid, in addition to the cups, the problem is the gap between the two. Where Ovechkin has the edge is that his goal scoring is so much above. Like, it's not a little above. Like, it's ridiculous. And he's literally chasing guys that nobody in the contemporary ones are in any danger of even touching. The current players are going to struggle. Like Jim here in Florida says, Crosby 2 tonight needs 47 more for 600. There's no reason to believe Crosby can score 47 except maybe in 2 seasons.
Oh, yeah.
And he's not getting younger. Like, it takes time. Right. He's not going to score 47 this season, 47 more this season, no matter what. Unless something weird happens. If something wacky and funky happens and he goes on this crazy hot streak, so be it. But we're not expecting it. We're not.
He still has really good players with him.
Exactly.
He still has Malkin, next to him. He still has Letang. He still has, some really good players to get him the puck. Now, even if Pittsburgh loses every single game, he's still going to get his points.
His 2 tonight, by the way, were power play goals.
I don't see why he's not going to do that in 2 seasons unless he has concussion issues or other.
Oh, sure. But my point that I'm going to make is this. My point that I'm going to make is that when we're looking at Crosby and Ovechkin, we're looking at 3 Stanley Cups versus 1. So Ovechkin has won a Stanley Cup. So at least he has that to go along with a prolific goal scoring. Ovechkin is head and shoulders the most prolific goal scorer of his generation comfortably. And again, he's chasing the all-time. Like, he's literally chasing the mountaintop. He can't get any higher. Like, that's it right there. If he's able to summit that mountain, there's nobody following him behind who realistically has a shot unless they can sustain many more years of consistent great play. I mentioned the Austin Matthews one earlier tonight only because it is impressive what he's done in the period of time he's done it in. But the problem is it won't matter in terms of all time for another decade. Even if he plays extremely well, like, it's another decade of playing extremely well. And even then, even if I guaranteed you 10 more years of 40 goals for Austin Matthews, that's 700 goals. That still puts him 100 more shy of Ovechkin. Like, that's how big this gap is. It's so absurd.
Oh, yeah.
Now look at Crosby and Ovechkin. Points-wise, they're actually pretty close. And Crosby has actually been known as more the playmaker. So he's actually a consistently good point producer over the course of his entire career, even with concussion issues and a lot of it. Bring it back to your McDavid thing. McDavid is so far head and shoulders above him in terms of point production. Eichel is not. And again, we go back to what I said. McDavid is considered to be the best player in the league. Eichel is not the best player in the league. No. Ovi is the most deadly, dangerous goal scorer in the league when he's hot. And he's had moments where, like, he's almost transcendently good. Eichel has never had a moment in his career where he's transcendently good. But he's very good. But he's a good player. He's a good player. And the Stanley Cup is a feather in his cap. It's a good thing. Like, it helps his stock. But unless you're a top guy, you have to hold the heavyweight championship belt of being the top guy at some point, even if it's for a little while. When Ovechkin was at his prime and at his apex, he was the best player in the world for a stretch. Not the whole time, not forever, but for a stretch. Crosby's had his moments where he was one of the top player in the league. And McDavid right now is holding the belt. Somebody can take it from him. But right now, McDavid holds the belt. It's not winning him championships, but he is still the best player, at least regular season. Bell to bell, until we get to the playoffs, he's the best player.
The Dog's going to take it from him, but not for 5 years.
Or if he plays Boston a couple more times.
The reason I brought it up is because it's interesting.
Good evening, Dom. I also want to acknowledge also. Good evening.
How in certain sports, it's always argued championships, and
Yes.
specifically football. Like it's always, well, they got this many Super Bowls, but football is like possibly one of the highest team dependent sports out there, and it's always rated on who the best player is based on trophies. And then you look at other sports and it's based on statistics. So that's why I wanted to bring that little discussion up, because it's always interesting how the best player, whether generation, all time, whatever, is looked at differently amongst different sports, whether it's stats or trophies. So that's why I was throwing that out.
No, I get you. I think if the two players were closer, like if regular season they were closer, it makes the point more interesting. There was a stretch of time where Crosby and Ovechkin were actually neck and neck in terms of actually being like a top tier player in the league. Crosby was always the better point maker, but Ovi was such a ridiculous goal scorer that it made it really interesting. But the problem is that Eichel is not on the same level as McDavid, game to game right now at all. Now, he could still be a great player who can potentially win championships, and that would be huge for him. That'd be monstrous for him.
Well, Eric was on the right point. It's a mute point anyway. Because Robertson, he meant to say Robert. He said Bedard. He meant to say Robertson.
No, I didn't.
He's going to take over. Give him a couple years. It's all good. Right. We know it. But I appreciate you acknowledging Eric.
Eric, this is your moment. This is like
I was waiting for him to finish. Just real quick, let's just jump to that last comment real quick and say goodnight.
Which one?
The last one that we have. We'll say goodnight, and I'll get my
here.
And I'll get my thing out of the way, and we'll move on with the evening. And that would be, of course, shut up, Josh. So we got to shut up, Josh. That has been fit in, and go screw yourself. Have a good night.
There you go. Fair enough. Thank you, Josh. Appreciate you. I'll quickly read a couple of. Oh no, I appreciate him.
No,
you may not appreciate it. I appreciate it.
No, we do not appreciate.
Look, Eric. If you look, I'm going to give you a chance right now. If you can give me a compelling argument why you don't appreciate Josh, I will rescind my appreciation. Give me a compelling argument.
A compelling.
Oh, that's not a very compelling argument. I'm not feeling that one. I'm sorry. No.
He's going to need to learn sign language. Mike keeps cutting out.
You might have to. It's been terrible. It's been awful. Yeah. I'm sorry, Eric. You're out of time, but I appreciate your effort.
The big face.
Tom says here, just because management mishandled the team, they didn't stop dumb fans from still supporting. New management, youngest roster in the league, all upside. You'll be crying about the Sabres fans soon enough. Had to stop putting cards in the spreadsheet away and chime in. Thanks, Carlos. I defended you, Tom. I defended you. I made sure we at least accounted for you. What Ovi has done is insane. Yeah, that's what I mean. Like, look, I don't care which player you think is better. It actually doesn't matter. Whatever you feel, you can make a case and argument for things. But the point is, what Ovechkin has done is right now is historic. This is a historic run. We're not going to see this again because too many things have to go right. Injuries are real. There's a lot of other great potential goal scorers that are going to get hurt. They may get hurt multiple times, and that'll hurt their production over time. That's going to hurt all of it. So the fact that Ovechkin has been able to stay healthy enough for long enough to keep producing at this level and still be really good even into his 30s, into his late 30s, that's really good. Like, that's fantastic. And the likelihood of us getting it again, I'm not holding my breath. Like, too many things would have to go right. Crosby has 20 more points and 200 less games. Yeah, as a point producer, he is superior. There is no question about that. I agree. And what's funny, quick point. I've made this point before, by the way, but I'll repeat it. I'm never going to give anybody investment advice because that's not my way. That's not my thing. But you could do worse than getting some nice Crosby pieces, because I don't think he's fully appreciated at the moment. And like he's going to Hall of Fame.
Oh yeah.
It's already locked in. Like, it's not a question. It's like, just how much can he do before he hangs it up and then goes there? That's all we're trying to determine now.
Yeah.
He at one point was excessively higher than Ovechkin.
That's what I'm getting
because
at.
I bought my Ovechkin right when, because obviously I'm just outside of DC. So right when they started talking about the potential of him being able to break the goals record and everything, that's when I actually bought my Ovechkin.
Yeah.
And at that time, Crosby was more by a big margin. In fact, Ovi OBSP Authentics and stuff were pretty reasonably priced, and I'm kicking myself every day because I could have had an SP Authentic Future Watch Auto, and I could have had I forgot now what product it was, but there's actually a 2004 Redemption Auto. Is it SP Signature or something? But I could have had that one too. He had a 04 Rookie Redemption autograph as well. And they were at a show, good priced, and I was thinking about it and walked away and forgot to go back. And then, yeah, I've regretted it every day since.
Well, it pains me to hear that you're kicking yourself every single day. And I want you to know that you and I are friends, and I am willing to drive to West Virginia and kick you myself every single day.
Well, that's going to be a long kick because I don't live in West Virginia.
It's all the same. It really doesn't matter.
Yeah, I don't think
it's a lot different.
I don't think Eric cares.
Different.
West Virginia, West Philadelphia, born and raised. Whatever he needs to do for you is the point. Is the point that we're trying to get across.
Garbage. It's ridiculous.
All right, let me read a couple of these.
I'm willing to drive down and kick you every single day myself, so you won't have to do that.
Amazing. So you're saying Marcel can finally escape?
You're welcome anytime.
Yeah, Marcel can finally escape his prison while you're away. What you're saying?
Oh no! We're gonna put extra padlocks on. He's not going anywhere.
Bobbles, he admitted it. That's incriminating evidence right there. Moving on.
Anyway.
LGC
said, I heard.
Yep, West Philadelphia. Born and raised.
I will be allowing him to attend the Toronto Expo. But when the expo is done, he will be returning to the basement.
Amazing. All right, so.
All right, listen, my daughter just walked in the door. This is her first time home from college. I'm going to go check on her. I may be gone for a while, but I'll try to come back.
Do that.
All
Do your thing. All right, so LGC says Sid has the golden goal. To me and many people of many of my peers, Sid is greater than Obi because we all know where we were on February 28th, 2010. Yeah, I watched the golden goal. I still don't care about Olympics, but I agree with you. I think it's a big deal. I think it's definitely something that plays in his favor. And like I said, I'll make the argument that Crosby might. I hesitate to say undervalued because that's a tough argument to make. But I will say that his credentials are good enough. I will say he will be a Hall of Famer, and I will say he will be one of the best players of his generation. And if the fact that Ovechkin has done so well, if it's hurt his pricing at all, I think that's an opportunity. I would prefer to have bought it 10 years ago, but I still think But I still think there is room for that to go up when their appreciation grows in the future. That's all I'll say. I'll just put it that way. Not investment advice. You do you, but I'm just saying there might be some room for appreciation when people figure out that he was one of the best of this generation.
The window is closing, so
there is. Yeah, exactly. I agree. Crosby plays 4 more years. He can finish number 2 scorer all time by averaging 100 points a year. I saw this and I went to go looking and I'm like, he's had 200 point seasons since he was 22. I'm not going to hedge my bets on this one. He's still a great player, but settle down. 2030, LeBron and Jordan will be neck and neck GOAT. Well, depending on who you ask, some people have already made that discussion. But we'll see. We'll see what happens. I was going to make the argument for Ovi being the most impressive outside of sheer numbers because he had the least talent around him out of most recent. But thinking of that, he's had a Hall of Fame, borderline Hall of Famers with him, so never mind. He's had some good players, but the team hasn't been consistently good. But he's had some good players with him as well.
He's a stand-up player.
Was that
exceptionally different, Obi?
Oh no, for sure. Yeah, like
exceptionally different.
I think that Sidney Crosby has had literal great players with him because they had so many number 1 picks. So honestly, they had lots of talent. Ovechkin has not had that, but it's not like he's been completely devoid of. There's no talent in Washington during any of that time. But no, he had some players. Obviously, not enough to be sustained or consistent over a long period of time. But again, they did win a Stanley Cup, so it's not like they had nothing ever. So they did win something. Hockey United says, Bobby, why doesn't Tim Hortons have photos of Tim Horton? Oh, why doesn't Tim Hortons have photos of Tim Horton?
Oh, there was a time there. They can now, but there was a time there was a deal signed between the family that they weren't allowed to do that because I think they sued Tim Hortons, and I think that's the thing that came out of that is they didn't win, but they couldn't post any photos of Tim Horton himself. But now I think it's allowed ever since 3 or 4 years now, 5
Yeah.
years maybe.
Yeah. But truthfully, if we're saying like today, most people, like, to be blunt, most people that walk into Tim Hortons have no idea Tim Horton was a person.
Yeah, and that's the other part too. It's like you're going to put a lot of hockey pictures up because good old memorabilia's sake.
That's what I mean. Yeah,
It's
most
just
most of
another-
them they're franchisees. The franchisees don't give a crap. They're not interested in like spending extra to do that. They're like, why would I care about that? We're here to sell doubles and and ice caps. That's our job, is to sell that. That's what we're
and
selling.
cases of cards out the back door before they even come released. So there you go.
As you should.
Mhm.
And also, this is, I think, the third owner. I believe the owner of Tim Hortons is the owner who also owns Wendy's, the company.
Was
that
it
owns
PepsiCo? Was it at one time?
I don't remember.
I think
I think
PepsiCo owns-
this is the third owner, though.
Yeah.
I feel like this is the third one. Like, put it this way: Tim Hortons is not owned by anybody in Canada.
Not anymore.
Nope. Europeans used to be called soft in the 80s and 90s. Yarger and Ovi had something to say about that. Ovi also brought the physicality of it, which I appreciate.
Mhm.
Remember Boston,
Yeah,
not so
it's
good
bigger.
geographically. Yeah. Tons who hated MJ during his playing days now considered to be GOAT. Takes time. Well, we'll have to see. I have said previously on record that I do think LeBron will be more appreciated after he's retired and out of the way. I think when he's no longer at everybody's face all the time and they just look at his totality of his numbers career-wise, I think he'll be appreciated by some folks more. Will that
He'll be
translate all the way to
memorized.
there?
Memorized better.
Yeah. It helps. Sometimes distance helps. So and then people are like willing to overlook whatever flaws they think you have will get glossed, because then they'll look at an NBA without him and they're like, oh man, remember when the NBA was more interesting? Yeah, I liked hating on LeBron. Even if it's just a hate on, they actually enjoyed that aspect of it. So then when they're gone, they're like, oh, now I don't get to do that anymore. Oh.
Yeah, well, it's sort of like, all through the course of history. I wish Eric was here for this one, but Eddie Shore, revered,
Sure.
but he, took the eye of Ace Bailey out, and that's why they had the first All-Star game. And he was a real prick, and he was not a nice player, but he's revered today.
I have to ask though, because that topic and like looking at it different ways, will LeBron actually have more popularity than Jordan even after he's retired?
No,
because
just for
I feel
millennials,
that
maybe.
basketball has fallen off a lot. Maybe not in an international spectrum, but as far as from what I see audience wise or people talking about it or whatever associating with it, basketball doesn't feel like it's as big today as it was in the 90s when Jordan was Jordan. So I don't know that LeBron will be remembered or looked at as better or the GOAT.
When the millennials
Jordan.
look back on their history, they'll think of LeBron opposed to MJ. So, but you guys going forward, who remember MJ, you still got another 30 years of appreciation. So he will still dominate for at least that length of time.
There's always recency bias too. Just to be clear, like every generation has its own whatever it is. That's why we spend so much time. That is why some of these players to the detriment. And by the way, it's not their fault. It has nothing to do with them. You'll have all these people compare him to look, I tease Bobbles about the J-Rob, pump and the love and everything. And it's like, well, if he keeps doing this, that's kind of what happened with Jim in Florida over here. He's projecting out things that haven't happened or that are not likely to happen based on history and everything. It's like, okay, well, the problem is anytime I look at something all time, you better be towards the end of your career before I start looking at all time things, because otherwise it's like, well, if he keeps, if this player scores 50 goals for 20 straight seasons, he'll have 1,000. You're right. But the likelihood of that is very low. You're asking an awful lot for this player to do that. It takes an accumulation, especially if you're talking about like an all-time climbing a mountain, so to speak. What'll help LeBron over time, the reason why I said, if he's out of the way and people don't think about the stuff they don't like about him, they're going to look and realize that he's the all-time leading scorer. He's number one. And he did win championships. Not as many as Jordan, but Jordan played in a different era. So there's going to be the combination of what Jordan has going for him is 6-0 in the finals, 6 finals MVPs, never lost. But the entire first chunk of his career, he made 0 finals. So, and if we're being honest, again, if we're being assessing it, well, okay, so you won 6 finals and 6 MVPs. It's the Tom Brady thing that I did with Brad once upon a time where I had fun. I said, okay, well, then who'd you beat? first championship, they played the Lakers. But this is 1991. I want to say 91.
So
they played the Lakers.
Magic.
Yeah, they had Magic, but that was the end of Magic. He was almost that team.
At the end of his
Kareem
career,
was retired. A lot of the players were older. Like
gone,
they had dominated in the 80s. Magic had been in finals in the early part of the 80s. So like they already had plenty of tread on that tire, relatively speaking. So yeah, they were in the finals, but you didn't get prime Lakers. This was not the Showtime Lakers of the 80s when they were at their apex. You didn't get those guys. You got what was left. And then within a year, Magic Johnson officially contracted HIV, announced it, and he was basically out of the league. It's like it was done. Magic in that Lakers era was done. And in 5 years' time, you'd get Kobe and Shaq, and that would start building up. But that was after. You weren't getting those guys. So you didn't get that. Second one, I want to say it was the Portland Trailblazers. It was something like that. Something like that. The second one was barely memorable. The third one, I think, was the Phoenix Suns. So that's Charles Barkley. Okay.
Yeah.
But it was like, that team was one and done, though. And the problem with a lot of these teams that they played were one and done. It wasn't like a great team that got to the finals and played them multiple times. The only team they played twice was the Utah Jazz. And here's the problem. Utah Jazz. So now you want to make the argument. Oh, Stockton and Malone, both Hall of Famers. Both. That is 100% true. Mm-hmm. But here's the thing. Stockton and Malone are Jordan's contemporaries.
They are. Yeah.
Jordan was at the tail end of his career, and both these guys had just gotten to the finals for the first time. They already had tons of tread on the tire. Both guys started around the same time as Jordan in the 80s. So both these guys are like old, and they're like, this is their last shot. This is all they got left.
Yeah.
But one thing though, and this goes back to the comment I made earlier about how sports look at things differently.
Sure.
You just made the comment that people will put more respect and look at LeBron higher because they'll recognize that he's the all-time leading scorer.
No, I didn't say they would put him higher. Don't misquote me. I said they will appreciate him more because they will take that into account and it'll help with distance.
Kareem was the all-time leading scorer.
I agree. And I think he's been glossed over completely.
Multiple championships, and like nobody really talked much about him. I mean, he was respected, but not ever in like hardly ever in a GOAT conversation. You mentioned Kareem, or
way back he was.
But Bobbles, here's the problem. I think he should be, because he won in college and he also won 6 NBA championships and he went to 10. So like he also has 6 championships and he was a league MVP and all this stuff. And he won before he got to the Lakers. So he also won a championship elsewhere himself as part of his own team, leading that team, and then also won with the Lakers.
Right. And that's kind of my point there. Like it's funny how people look at things and break it in different ways of who is the better player, whether it's current playing or past all-time legends. That's the fun part about sports, is people are going to look things in different ways. I think the one thing that Jordan has is he became like an icon everywhere and globalized his brand, the Nike Jordan brand.
You just made the point, Bobbles. Jordan is a brand that has transcended the man. Yeah. Jordan, then to be fair, it's the Tim Hortons thing all over again. Yeah. There's going to be a generation of kids who won't even realize Jordan was a player. Oh, I thought he was the shoe. I thought he was the shoe brand or the shirt brand or whatever. Jordan has transcended into being something else. So, like I said, my job is not to try to tell you that one player is going to be named over the other. I'm only pointing out that history is funky. As a history major, history is very funky in the way it treats things, recency versus, the past, the present. If you study the sport, then you'll have a better appreciation and understanding of all the components of it. Yes. Then all of a sudden the Kareem argument exists where nobody is talking about Kareem. But maybe you should, because like there's a legitimate point to be made. Like, wait a minute, that guy was the all-time leading scorer, and he had 6 NBA championships, and he won with his own team, and he was an MVP. Why have you completely glossed over this dude like he never existed? That makes no sense.
That's the fun part, because James Gillum, I've mentioned him before. He's actually going to be coming down this week to go to Chantilly with me. But he's always said that, and he's 60 something. he's always said that the greatest basketball player he's ever seen play was Dr. J. And he's made that same argument. During Dr. J's playing days, the game wasn't televised. People couldn't see him play. And so he wasn't recognized as a great of a player as he actually was. But he said, watching all these guys, whether it be Jordan, whoever, Kobe, LeBron, any of them, he said that the best player he's ever seen play was Dr. J.
And remember, Topps omitted the basketball for 10 years. So there's no reflecting back with all these new people. Like, I watch reaction videos and I see these guys looking back at Larry Bird and they go, yeah, I heard about Bird. I heard he was pretty good. And then they watch the highlight reels and they go, holy shit,
awesome.
That was amazing.
Yeah.
And there's the transcendence right there, Carlos, is that like, whoa, this guy, I didn't even know. And these guys are younger guys who are in their 20s, so it's like, yeah, now you're catching up. So that respect takes time, and you need stories. You need, I don't think they do a lot of that. Most of it's current going forward, not a lot of backstories to look back on. It's nice to refer Gordie Howe and other things, but, people who are in the TV, when they televise the games for Larry Bird and definitely MJ, but they got beat on. It's the WHA story again. Here's the WHA. Teams coming, teams going. Nothing was. No games were televised. Why wasn't it successful? It was a great league, and today it's dying off because those people. There's nothing to reflect back onto it. There's some card issues, but there's no highlight reels. Nothing. Just very simple. So that's what happens. It's just a matter of a good story or education or whatever. We all look back at Babe Ruth because there's a legend, there's a name, there's a story all the time in the newspaper. But
he was a Yankee,
not Magic Johnson.
But
nothing.
In addition to being a Yankee, he was a Yankee when they established that dynastic period. Because the New York Highlanders were not a thing that anyone really cared about. The Yankees, early Yankees, had a couple of brushes, but then when they got that Babe Ruth guy, they started winning World Series, and then that carried forward. Lou Gehrig carried it for a little while longer before, obviously, he had his ailment. Then Joe DiMaggio took over, and then and then Mickey Mantle took over, and you just kept going.
Yogi
and the house,
and that entire era.
Yep.
The fact that from the 1920s until the early 1960s, so almost 40 years, the Yankees were a dominant franchise, built the foundation that gave the Yankee mystique. Because if you actually go historically, right around the mid 60s, they dropped off the face of the earth until the late 70s. Then they won 2 World Series, and they had moments.
Well, you had Mantle in there keeping the attraction going.
Yeah, but the thing is, he was an attraction, but the team wasn't good. Like by the mid 60s to the last couple of years of his career, that team was not good. They were shell. It was done. They had to rebuild and reload, and it took another 10 years basically for them to reset. By the late 70s, Reggie Jackson will be at the Expo. You can play catch with him, so you got that going for them. Late 70s, they were able to rebuild. They got Thurman Munson, they got Ron Guidry, they got Reggie Jackson. They had these players that, okay, great. They won 2 World Series. They also in the World Series in 81. So they still had a window of time where they were good. But guess what? Pause then. They had some good teams, big time name talent, didn't win again until 1996. 1981, 1996. 15 years gap. Then the Yankees went on that prolific run. Won in 96, won in 98, 99, 2000. Very impressive. Got to the World Series in 2001, lost. Got to the World Series 2003, lost. But they tried. They were consistently in the mix. Didn't win again until 2009, haven't won since.
Yeah. Steinbrenner's can spend as much money, but it doesn't matter.
Yeah. But the point is that if you look at the history of the Yankees, really, you can cut out, it's delineate 2 different lines. If you really look at it, New York Yankees can say 27 championships. I'm saying if I cut it off in 1965, 20 of those championships were before 1965. 7 of them were in the last 60 years. 7 in 60 years doesn't sound nearly as impressive, does it? As opposed to 20 in about a 40-year span, where it's extremely impressive, right? 2 different contexts.
Yeah, the Leafs won 11 cups in 40 years, and then they haven't won in 58 years, 57 years, right?
Yeah. So you can lean on the banners up there, but it doesn't mean what you think it means. Like, it's not exactly what you're trying to sell, but I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
It's
Let
all
me
context.
ask you guys this. So we're sitting here debating the Jordan and LeBron thing, and then Magic was mentioned, Bird was mentioned. You look through history, and yeah, players change teams somewhat. But do you feel that the free agency thing and players bouncing around so much have hurt potential long-term legacies? Because
Yes.
I know back when, I was a huge Shaq fan, and in '96 when he went to the Lakers, that took away from me enjoying, being a Shaq fan. Griffey, I was a Griffey fan. He goes to the Reds. I couldn't, I wasn't as happy with him being in Cincinnati.
What's wrong with Cincinnati?
There's another factor that plays into the Griffey thing.
Shit.
So, Bobbles, I actually really like this topic. I think it's a good discussion point. But let me get caught up on the comments. I don't want to do a Dustin. Right now, we're about 15 minutes behind. Give me a second. Let me get caught up here. But I like the topic. I think this is a good conversation point. Hold on. So, good day here to Global. Aussie Card Dad, good day to you as well. Magic was still second MVP voting in 91. I agree. But I'm saying it wasn't the same Magic as the 80s. He still had, it's not like he wasn't good. It's not like he suddenly sucked. That team went to the finals. They were still good. But the point is, they weren't the same. They weren't quite at that same level. It was on the descent, not on the ascent. They'd already apexed. Curious if you think Malkin is a lock for the Hall of Fame. I went and looked at his stats when I saw this comment, Jim. I'm going to say yes. My first instinct was yes. I still think yes. And you can pick up his stuff cheap because, and I'll get to a comment from Hockey 99, you can be a Hall of Famer and still be cheap because there's a lot of Hall of Famers. There's tiers to Hall of Fame.
Hall of Famers.
Yeah, there's just so many guys that, yeah, he's a Hall of Famer. Why? Because his stats warrant it. The player's career warrants it. But nobody thinks of the guy. If I ask you to name off Hall of Famers, it's going to take you a while to get to their name. And it's not that they weren't great players. They were. But there's so many eras of great players. It's like, okay, how long is it going to take you? Go through the list of Hall of Famers. Unless you're super hardcore, there's a good chance you're going to find some names. You're like, who? And then you got to go do some digging and find out. Okay, I get why.
I was doing that today with the with pricing. I'm looking Pulford. I'm going, oh, he's a Hall of Famer. Shit, I didn't even know that. And Langway, and I'm going, really? Clark Gillies. I just went, man.
There are so many players that are like
Hall of Fame.
There are so many players that I forgot about them 5 seconds after they finished playing.
Joey Mullen.
I don't forget about them playing, but I just didn't think they were Hall of Famers at that point. Sure. And
they got in. But they got in. So like, look, it still counts. I'm not taking it away from them. When they go on the autograph circuit and sign Hall of Fame whatever year, I'm not taking it away from them. They deserve it. They've earned it. Good on them. But I'm not giving them a second thought. No. But congratulations. No issue there. Who's the owner of the NBA Vegas franchise? Shaq or LeBron? Bobby Bro. LeBron haters are blinded by stuff that doesn't matter, like politics. That's why I say distance will help him in the long run. Stuff no one will care about in 40 years when people are assessing his career. Yes, I agree, Zach. I have to say the NBA basketball in general is growing faster in the 90s over here in Australia due to social media and more access to live games. I think the international portion of it, I agree there's still room there. I think domestically in the United States, I think it's apexed already. But I think there is international. There's room there, no doubt. Like baseball, hockey Hall of Famers are cheap. Doug Gilmour, anyone. That's the reason I brought up the Hall of Fame point that I just said a second ago. There are plenty of Hall of Famers that, no one gives them a second thought. But they're Hall of Famers. They are.
I disagree with Dougie Gilmour. People don't think Dougie Gilmour deserves to be in the Hall of Fame.
Oh, he does, 100%.
I mean,
he deserves to be in the Hall of Fame, but we don't think about him beyond that. He's a Hall of Famer. Good for him.
I do because he's.
I disagree. I'm sorry. Disagree.
1 second. Moving on. I was here when Dougie Gilmour was doing great things, but guess what? I don't give him a second thought. I had forgotten about Doug Gilmour until you brought up his name.
I definitely have not forgot about.
All right, what's your favorite Doug Gilmour moment? Go.
When he scored the overtime goals.
I know Bobby's. I'm asking Bougie Eric and Worcester.
Oh, that series where against the King.
He's pausing.
He was the best player in the world.
The one Gretzky won?
He was the best player in the world for that.
So he's better than Gretzky. Doug Gilmour's better than Gretzky. Bougie Eric, 2023. Got it.
That year, he was the best player in the world.
I would agree. In '93, he was playing at a top tier level. I agree with that.
He was getting goals at the last second. It was just incredible. It was him and Clark. It was just fucking amazing. And Gretzky ruined it all. Fucker.
Terrible. That Wayne Gretzky ruins lives.
That guy sucks. He was stupid.
Yeah, he's awful. You know, my favorite Gilmore moment was when he came back to the Leafs and his career ended in 14 seconds.
He was a bum.
That was amazing. I just came from my son's basketball game. Fair enough. Jordan had to play tough teams early in the playoffs, was in a tougher conference. No, I agree. The team was tough. 85 lost to the Celtics, 4 Hall of Famers. Piston had multiple Hall of Famers, Lakers. No, here's the thing. I agree with everything Ozzy Card Dad here is saying. But all that means is that the path for Jordan to get cleared is these teams had to fall off. And then the path became clear and he was able to get in. I just don't think his competition post when these teams dropped off, I don't think it was on the same level. And my reason for that is because I look at the teams he played in those finals. None of them could replicate the effort. All of them were like one and done teams. The Seattle team didn't come back. One shot at it. There's the Phoenix team, one shot at it, and then they were gone. It's not like they reloaded and then came back and gave them a tougher challenge the second go around. The Utah team was the only team that repeated, and they were at the end of the line. Like the problem is the guys who were the lead cogs of this were not young bucks like challenging Jordan. They were old men who were Jordan's contemporaries. It's like if I think one of them is even older than Jordan. So it's like you're not facing the young, fresh legs. These guys are at the end of the rope too. If they don't win this time, they're not winning. They don't get another shot.
10 years to make a star. There's usually a major star in every 10 years or every decade, let's say. Because if you take it back to Gretzky and go back to Bobby Orr, and then you go back to Maurice Richard, you go back and then you can go forward and go to the 80s and get Lemieux in there. Even throw I don't care. And then 90s, you go plethora at that time, right? Mm-hmm. But here's a question for you guys, all you guys here. And if you took let's take boxing and we'll take Tyson out of the equation. Who is the best boxer prior to Tyson?
The best boxer prior to Tyson?
Marvin Hagler.
You heard the question.
Marvin Hagler.
Okay.
I want to pick one of the early, bare knuckle champions.
John. Yeah. Okay.
Jack Tunney. Jack Tunney.
Jack Tunney. Okay.
No, Marvin Hagler.
Hey, listen, Bobby. One of his relatives would go on to become commissioner of the World Wrestling Federation. That's a legacy.
It is.
I might be making that up, but the point still stands.
But who was the biggest person in prior to that? Like see how
Muhammad was the biggest star. Muhammad was the biggest star, no doubt. And he fought some of the great Muhammad.
Oh yeah.
And he fought a lot of he fought a lot of the greats of the period. It's not like he ducked a bunch of the great champions. He fought the legit guys of his time period.
But that's who comes up immediately for me.
Sure.
But I didn't hear that from you guys very quickly.
Well, after I got past Jack Tunney, because Jack Tunney, that was after Jack Tunney, that's my next guy.
Or Rocky Marciano or whatever you want to keep going back to
Tyson.
Before Tyson, yeah.
So I don't think
Tyson idolized
on a ladder. Tyson, it was at this period of time. The next one below him of greatness.
Quite a big difference.
Right. And, Ali's down here from years before. I was doing like a timeline more than great. I thought you were saying
you can get Sugar Ray Leonard in there. You can throw a bunch of people in there, but
and I think Hagler was the best boxer of his generation.
Boxing's hard to even go though because you have so many weight classes.
Understood, but it's usually the heavyweights we're talking about.
I think if you go traditional heavyweight, that's different. Yeah. All right, let me pause everybody for a second because I'm again 12 minutes behind. Jesus, you guys are good with the comments, by the way. Good on you guys. Appreciate you. Jay here. Good evening, Bobby. I was worried you were going to diss Mr. Larry Joe Bird. If you did not, fair enough. Thank you, Jay. Dr. J had his prime in the ABA. Also already passed his prime by the time he got to the ABA. That's true. That hurt him. He did a lot of his best stuff in the ABA, so I agree with that. Jordan, worldwide greatness occurred and built before social media existed. Players like LeBron, worldwide fame benefited by social media. Both can be true. Yeah, that's fine. Sorry, guys, should have said hi first. No worries, Aussie Card Dad. All good. If you're a Hall of Fame player, you also have a lot of cards because you played for a while. True.
Yep.
That Booby Orr guy is pretty forgettable, no doubt. Real Shea maybe became the Boston Strangler. True. At least he got the first NBA three-pointer, so he has that going for him.
I'm going to punch him in the throat.
Amazing. Jim Rice is a Hall of Famer, and nobody thinks of him except for Eric. I don't even know if Eric thinks of him. Is Happy Gilmore's uncle something? Maybe. The Bad Boy Pistons, yeah. Yep. True, the 90s teams were weaker and had expansion in there also. Yeah, that's what hurt. So to be clear, I want to make some really important point. When I mentioned the thing with the Jordan, that doesn't mean the Jordan teams weren't great. But it just means I can only measure them based on the level of their competition. When they faced the stiffest competition, they didn't advance. Then suddenly the competition got a little lighter. It wasn't that they didn't have any resistance, but by the time they got to the finals, the resistance wasn't there the same way. A lot of people argue that their best competition was some of the Indiana Pacers teams. Well, the problem is, unfortunately, the Pacers couldn't advance. They never were able to beat them. So maybe that was your best test. But then you get to the finals and the test is gone. And it's like, oh, okay, yeah, we'll beat these teams.
The Knicks was always a good matchup for the Bulls, too.
Sure, yeah. So the problem is their conference was tougher. So I agree with the statement made earlier. The conference was tougher. But once they beat the conference, then it's not that they cruised. I want to be clear. The other teams tried, but the teams were not on the same caliber. They were not on the same level. So they didn't get that competition in the final phase of the championship. So it's like, I'm not saying no, but if you had faced the same level, again, would Jordan still be the GOAT if he was 4-2 in the NBA Finals? You can still make an argument. I still think you can make a case. But the point is, would it not make it a little more interesting? It would make it a little more interesting if he had faced some competition and they had found a way to beat him once or twice. Would have been cool.
I'll tell you. So basketball used to be like my number one favorite sport.
Sure.
I don't like the new game where they constantly, they figured out that Bobby Orr got the first 3-pointer and now that's all they do.
Mm-hmm.
But when you watched a Chicago Bulls game in the 90s, the Bulls could be losing and you still sat there engrossed in that game because you knew Michael Jordan was going to do something to bring that team back. When you watch a game today, whether it be the Lakers, the Heat, or the Cavs, you don't have that same feeling of LeBron James taking over the game and bringing that team back from a deficit to win. You just don't. And that made Jordan special.
There we go. Eric's always ready.
There you go. MJC in the 80s was trash, though. Scottie Pippen wasn't an all-star until 1990. The Bulls were a one-man show in the 80s. Not, I was going to say not untrue. That is an element of it. But that's what's funny is that the team wasn't good enough necessarily to advance. But again, it would have been even more of a gauntlet to pass in that time period. So like both things can be true. It can be they weren't ready for prime time. That team was not built to be able to fight through that gauntlet that was there. But I think the 80s was a tougher time to pass through into the finals because those teams were so good. And unfortunately, the 90s was not nearly as good. Even though you had stars scattered around, those teams were not on the same tier. But that's not his fault. That's kind of the Bob Jackson point. You can't blame Jordan for love. I can't. But at the same time, I also don't have to count it the same way. I can look at it and go like, yeah, you have to beat whoever's in front of you. But if you're not facing the best possible opposition, then we'll count it. But it's not as impressive. I just can't be as impressed by it.
I think the foundation of the hobby transcends the player's history and how good they really are. Our trading cards, like we wouldn't know as much about Ruth if we didn't have Ruth trading cards, and they went for so much. We would know nothing of Honus Wagner and how great of a player he really was, but he is obviously that short printed card. There's all these, the whole history has been followed up with cards, and the best stories seem to live on. And unfortunately, basketball missed 10 years, like I said, in there, and that hurt them a lot.
Yeah. And regardless, what I'll say is this: it doesn't matter what we talk about in discussion with that piece. Regardless, Jordan's success elevated the league to worldwide status. They became a worldwide brand so regardless, Jordan is still successful. Like he's the GOAT in terms of building a brand. Either way, he is the GOAT of building the brand, which is why I say, like, seriously, there are sectors of the world where like they won't realize that Jordan was a player. They'll know him for the shoe. They'll know him for the shirts. They'll know him for the Jordan brand.
They'll know him for
transcends anything he ever did on the court.
Well, hell, in the fact what other player could literally retire, go play another damn sport, come back and win 3 more championships in a row? Like,
2 of them are against the Utah Jazz, though. That was kind of my point from earlier.
I don't care. Like,
the Utah Jazz.
That's pretty damn impressive.
Bobbles, I think Karl Malone was older than you, and we don't know how old you are, allegedly.
He didn't just beat Karl Malone and the Jazz. He
beat you.
The NBA Finals and won the championship.
I think the Jazz was the toughest competition. I mean, with Malone and Stockton, plus they had other really good players too. I'm trying to remember the
problem, Eric, is that Malone and Stockton
Byron
were
Russell,
collective 147 years old by the time they got to the finals. They didn't get the best. My argument is that they didn't get even the best version of Stockton and Malone. They were already tons of tread on the tire by then.
Yeah, he had a lot of miles, but Malone, I mean, even at the very end of his career, Malone looked like someone chiseled him out of stone. I mean, that guy was a beast. Also, not a very good guy. Not a swell fella.
Listen, Eric, in fairness, I think with Malone's allegations, I think we got to go a step below not swell fella. I think we might have to dare say, really not swell fella.
Really not swell fella.
Like, really. Listen, my homie is a not swell fella. Karl Malone, really not swell fellow.
That is true.
Really not swell. There are levels to this. Seattle 96, yeah. So that's one that I talked about. You know, you got Sean Payton, you got what's his name? Jesus.
You mean Sean Kemp and
Sorry,
Gary
Sean
Payton?
Kemp and Gary Payton. Thank you. I got the two blended in my head. But both are great players, but that was a one and done. Like, they couldn't get there again. And despite the young talent and the ability, that was the problem with all those guys in the 90s. They had players with young talent. Couldn't get there again. Couldn't get there a second time. They got one shot at it, and that was it. It was done. Yeah. Prime Kemp and Payton in 96. The problem is they were babies.
Mm-hmm.
I would love to have seen them try again.
Yep.
Watch the hockey fight between Jeffrey Val and Alex Gallant tonight. CTE for both of them. Fair enough. I'll fight people about Jordan LeBron all day long. Jordan is the GOAT. That's fine. If he gets much credit for staying at the Bulls, great organization, great teammates, no reason to leave. Sure. Fair enough. I almost feel like he had a stroke during this. I almost feel like he slammed his keyboard.
In fairness, he says great teammates. Okay. And we're sitting here you called out Stockton and Malone and stuff. Outside of Pippen, he had Luke Longley for a couple of those at center. Horace Grant, who wound up leaving to go to the Magic. Steve Kerr, who nobody cared about until he became a Golden State Warriors coach and coaching Steph Curry.
Hey, he made clutch shots, buddy. He made clutch shots. Don't knock
He
the
made
clutch
shots, but who cared?
Game winner.
Paxson, BJ Armstrong, like,
Robert
are those
Parrish.
guys really on the top of your list of great players?
Robert Parrish.
Are they on the top of your list of great players? Come on.
Yeah, my top 5.
He did have Rodman, and I think that was
I was going to say,
final three-peat.
Okay, so for the
final,
record,
right?
Karl Malone is the same age as Jordan, and Stockton's actually older than Jordan.
Mm-hmm.
So when they played, literally Stockton was older than Michael Jordan. That was at the end. The Utah Jazz ones were at the end of Jordan's run. It wasn't the beginning. It wasn't 1991. It was right at the end of the 90s. It was like you're all old.
No,
but you're old and you literally just got here. These other guys have already won championships.
And Larry Bird was at the end of his career.
37.
Sorry?
Sixers, I think, was the other team that wasn't mentioned.
For the Bulls championships? Hold on.
Yeah.
I'll double check. I want to say it was Magic. I think it was Portland. You got Phoenix. And then in the second three-peat, I think Seattle was one, which was mentioned here. And I think Utah twice.
Sixers might have been Lakers series.
Yeah, it would have been somebody else. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I think it was Utah twice, Seattle, and then I want to say the first three was Lakers, Portland, Phoenix, I believe. Bull teams were old as well. Like I said, I just covered. Stockton and Malone were just as old as Jordan. They were all equal. Surprised you weren't buying Jade Cargill operative cards before she was cool. I have Jade Cargill cards. I've sold some already.
I have no idea who that is.
That's all you need to
We're
know.
talking basketball and hockey. Just
Hey,
randomly throws
Jade
in
Cargill. Jade Cargill played basketball in college. Bobbles. Don't be knocking.
Youth county league ball too. I'm sure.
Is Jade a woman's name?
We invented basketball.
Yes, Jade Cargill's a woman. Yes.
We invented basketball.
There you go. That's true.
There you go.
LeBron gets too much credit for playing super teams too. Yeah. Jordan didn't retire for a year. He was suspended for gambling. That is the ongoing conspiracy theory. Yes.
Thing, yeah.
Geoff, the Jordan of sports cards. There you go, Kamikaze. Sonics, white player. Sure. Rodman, yep. 1998 Bulls were the oldest team in the leagues. Yeah. Let's see. Tony Kukoc, yep. I will not hear Ozzy Luke Longley slander Bobbles. Ooh, fair. Fair. That's good. That's fair. Bird had best teammates. He had some great teammates, no doubt.
Listen, I know I'm prejudiced, and that's fine.
Oh, clearly we know that. Yeah.
Sixers were Lakers series.
I will say, and many others do also, basketball experts, 86 Celtics, greatest team ever. You had a starting lineup of 4 Hall of Famers. You had a backup center in Bill Walton, who was the Hall of Famer.
And the inspiration, Bill Buckner.
I don't want to talk.
I like to think the 86 Celtics were inspired by Bill Buckner. Bill Buckner would have won the World Series in 86 had he not used his essence to propel the 86 Celtics. He tried to carry 2 franchises, which was a mistake, Bobbles. He should have just stuck with one. He tried to carry 2 franchises. He propelled them to championship glory, and then unfortunately didn't have enough left for Boston, for the Red Sox. It's sad. Sad.
I don't want to play with you anymore.
Oh, Bubbles. You know what that makes me think though of? What Eric said. It had been too long since Ted had joined us. It was time. It was time. Let's decide his way to the greatest. Space Jam 1 or Space Jam 2? Valid question. So you have 5 on the floor, and 3 would reach the Hall of Fame. That's a pretty good team. There you go. Bulls were a great team. Yes. Individual pieces weren't necessarily superstars. No, I actually think the Bulls teams were well constructed. Those Jordan Bulls teams were. It's not. Look, the joke about the LeBron thing is that he builds super teams and all that, which is true. But in fairness, that's how a lot of the teams in the league are doing it now. They're trying to like pair superstars and do a lot. So that's just the current structure of the way they build these teams. These other teams were built for cohesion. The point was to like, you might have a star, maybe you can draft another one, and then build some of the other components around. The point is you don't want 5 superstars on the court. That just creates complications. The point is you want the Steve Kerrs who will make a shot when you need him to. Dennis Rodman was a weirdo. So there's only so much weirdness you can handle. So like, it's a lot of effort to keep him from doing something horrible when he could be playing. So that's already enough work for you. So you got Jordan, you Pippen, keep Rodman from doing something horrible to himself. And that's enough. That's enough of a headache for you to keep track. You just need a couple of stable folks to keep the thing going.
And it's usually dominated by one person too.
Yeah.
So, it's not like the team is important, yeah, but it's really that one big player that makes the difference. Hockey is a little different, a little more complicated, but yeah.
Yeah. So greatest diabolical laugh in history? Facts. LeBron throws together a bunch of stars, but not great teams. Yeah. So that's the thing. Like look, real sports are not about building a fantasy league team. That's not, most of the time that doesn't work. You can't just go randomly go like, well, who's the best name at this position and go like, yeah, put them in. No, there got to be some cohesion to it. And it can't be like, oh, we're good friends. We'll be able to share the ball and do all this. That's what a lot of these teams are encountering. They're like, here's the thing. What if you've got egos. You might be good friends outside of when you're hanging out at the club or having a drink or whatever. That's fine. When you're on there and it's like, yeah, I'm used to having the ball. I'm used to having the ball. Uh-oh, we got a problem. We only got one ball. One of you has to take the ball. So which one of you is it? And then it becomes this weird thing like, oh, well, I'll take the ball sometimes, and then you take the ball. That has never worked.
No.
Ever.
No.
And there's a good reason why. It never works. It can't. Somebody's got to be the lead. And even if the other player is equivalent, with the LeBron thing, when he went to the Heat, Dwayne Wade was a great player in his own right at the time that they put that team together. He was willing to defer. Yeah, and he was willing to defer to make that work, and they were able to parlay that into championships. Somebody has to be willing to bite the bullet.
And one of the championships that LeBron won down there was because of none other than Ray Allen, who hit a big-time shot to help them win. So,
yeah. But the point is, somebody has to be willing. And again, Dwayne Wade at that time was certainly a star. So the point is, he was willing to say, in order to make this work, I will bite the bullet. I will take a step back, and then we'll go forward. And they were able to win some championships on that. He's not complaining about the extra rings he was able to get out of that. And LeBron is not complaining about those rings that he was able to get out of it. But something had to give. So because Dwayne Wade was willing to do that, that's how they won a couple of extra rings there out of that. That's the only reason why. But somebody's got to be willing to do it. If nobody's willing to do it, good luck. That's the end of that. Switching to European chess, guard the queen. There you go. If anyone proves it's the Mets and Yankees this past season, fair. Jonas got lucky as fuck. Broadman became free agent, right? He's a big NBA Finals against Kevin Malone. Fair. When people try to discount Jordan's teams and talk about LeBron's super teams, I always bring up being disrespectful to the great Scottie Pippen. Fair enough. Right now, Jordan and Pippen are not on good terms.
Has anyone heard some of the stuff that's come out of Pippen's mouth in the last year?
He's got a lot of bitterness in his heart. There's a lot of anger.
Not just that, and I'm trying to be semi-serious. I think Scottie has some mental health issues.
Scottie doesn't know. Scottie doesn't know.
Wow.
I think Scottie has some mental health issues that he needs to address immediately.
Or ego issues.
No,
back
he's
to
kind of lost his
CC.
mind a little. He's gone off the deep end.
This one here?
So yeah, so I actually have talked about this with basketball people before, because not to discount anything from Jordan, and I'm not going to throw LeBron's coaches in there because he basically runs the teams he's on.
Yeah, he coaches them, I think, as well.
It is very interesting that there is a common denominator between Jordan and Kobe. Not LeBron, but Jordan and Kobe, and that is Phil Jackson.
Mm-hmm.
So I think Phil is a huge piece to that whole puzzle. That team with Jordan, Pippen, and the rest of the squad, with a weak NBA, everything else, without Phil Jackson, I don't know that it would have been the same.
Yeah, I mean, I think Jordan and the Bulls respected Phil. I think the Lakers respected Phil. They were willing to do the triangle offense. They were willing to listen to him. There, he wrote up the plays. He had the rings to prove, plus he was a player in the league, right? And was a successful player in the league. So he came from those locker rooms into coaching. So these guys had respect for him. LeBron, I would say, and of course I haven't talked to him lately, but I don't think he's ever had respect for any of his coaches. I think when he was in Miami, I think he respected
Pat Riley.
Pat Riley. I don't think he respected any coach he's ever had.
No, not at all. The Miami thing worked because Pat Riley was there. Pat Riley has the force of personality and the credentials to be able to talk to these guys.
Former player, was in the locker rooms, played with great players, coached, some of the greatest players ever and one of the greatest franchises ever in LA in the 80s. He has the rings and the credentials. So LeBron can't just blow that off, because Magic and Kareem will come over and slap him in the back of the head. But Spoelstra at the time was like 20 something years old, I think. He had no use for him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, for sure. And kind of a quick side point on the Phil Jackson thing as well is that as a player, he had 2 rings as a player, and then another 11 as a coach. Like he's got more rings than you can shake a stick at. He literally has been like, yeah, well, how many championship rings do you want me to show you?
More rings than fingers.
Yeah, like literally, he's got 13 rings. 13. It's just obscene if you think about it. And one of his underrated things is he figured out how to make a lot of egos work. He figured out because regardless, Jordan did whatever he did. Phil Jackson gets going. The team gets put together. Everything falls into place. They win 6 championships. Oh, I guess that's it for Phil Jackson. He goes in and Kobe and Shaq and then goes and builds another winner. Wins another series of championships. He just kept going. So it's one of those things. He won in the 90s, he won in the 2000s, and he won a ring in 2010 as a coach. That's 3 decades where he won NBA championships.
Mm-hmm.
That says something.
And LeBron got some young kid. I mean, I honestly don't know how old Spoelstra was when he took over that Miami team with LeBron. But I mean, seriously, I mean, was he even 30 years of age at that point? And it's like, why Pat Riley threw that young guy in that, situation is beyond me.
I want to make sure I look up the information and get it right here. The thing is, the reason why I think that he did that is because he actually, if I want to see if I can find it, Spoelstra is still coaching the NBA Heat. They went to the finals against, I think it was the Lakers. Spoelstra was still the coach of a team that went to the NBA Finals without LeBron, without Dwayne Wade, without any of those guys. He is actually a decent coach.
I think he's become one, and I think he has the respect of NBA players now that are on his team.
Yeah.
But I'm talking about at that time when LeBron made the decision on ESPN, which was the biggest joke in ESPN history. To go down there, and he gets this no-name young kid that's supposed to be his coach. And I never understood why Riley said, hey, I got this great idea. I'm going to put this babyface kid with no experience as the coach of this super team.
Because he's goddamn Pat Riley, Eric. Pat Riley is like, screw you.
Yeah.
Yep. No, that's fair. The thing is, they had a lot of talent.
Listen, if Zach either knows baseball, if he either knows basketball or he Googled it, then okay, I'm wrong. But I never would have thought, Spoelstra was 39, 40 years old when LeBron showed up. I would have thought he was closer to 30 years old.
He's 52 right now, and they won in 2012 and 13. So, a little quick math, he was about 40.
I'm wrong. Okay.
He moisturizes, Eric. He moisturizes. Must. I hope you learned a valuable lesson. Moisturize.
Oh, he went to the wiki.
Of course.
All right. Well,
even still, though, 39 to 40 years old as an NBA
it's young for a head coach.
Young.
It's young for a head coach. Yeah, for sure.
That's still young.
He's young for a head coach. I remember thinking at the time, supposed to look like a teen high school teacher's aide or new hire at Park Carlisle. Yeah. But it's because he moisturizes people. I thought we just covered this. I believe Spoelstra was assistant when Wade won his first ring. Riley was a young coach when he won with the Lakers. Yeah, that's right. I think that's right. But no, I get it. I don't disagree. So 2006, he was an assistant coach when they won the NBA championship. So he was an assistant coach for that team 6 years prior. So he had at least some background with the team. He had been with the team already as an assistant coach for years prior to that, getting that job. Eric wrong. Imagine that. Crazy talk.
All right, now you're just being mean.
Paul C. Good evening, sir. Good evening, Paul. Good stuff. I didn't have us deep an NBA analysis on my bingo card tonight.
I didn't think so either.
No, I didn't. Bobbles, I think we held around. For some rando hockey guys, I think we did all right.
Not bad. Not bad. But at that
Well,
point,
in a general, like now that you're caught up, I'll bring it back up again.
Yep. I am caught up on
Because
comments, by the way. Thank
I'm
you all for the
curious-
comments. I do appreciate it.
I'm curious to hear the thoughts on it because you do have some great players,
Yes.
all-time great players that played sporadically on different teams. And one, since we have a hockey, crowd here, Gretzky obviously made his rounds to different teams. But for the most part, up until, I guess we'll call it modern sports times, players stayed with teams for a decent period of time. At least they may not have stayed there their entire career. Jerry Rice moved on to the Raiders and the Seahawks, and Montana moved over to the Chiefs. But for the most part, they were known for one team. When you think of Jerry Rice, you think 49ers. Yeah. Do you think that longevity of a team helps create greatness on players versus the new free agent? And especially in basketball, contracts don't mean a damn thing in basketball, it seems, where they can just bounce team to team to team. Do you think that hurts their legacies? Because I know for me, I prefer having a favorite player on a favorite team. We'll use Soto as an example. As a Nationals fan, it sucks he's in San Diego, and he'll likely move somewhere else from there. So
he will. I don't think he'll stick in San Diego. That's a disaster. I think San Diego's a disaster.
Yeah. So, what's y'all's thoughts on that? Does a player's legacy, is it helped by being having longevity on one team, or do you think it doesn't really matter?
I think
and I want to open that question up to the chat as well. Bobby already said previously that it does. So I tend to agree, but I do want to, there is more nuance to this conversation.
If you look at the cards, sports cards, how many people want a jersey that's the wrong color of the team that, maybe, Austin Matthews gets traded and all these Leaf cards that I have, and all of a sudden I got to look at a Detroit card of him. It's just like, that takes away from it too. So it's part of the history.
I think to your point previous, and there is some nuance to this conversation. I don't want to make it too over. I tend to lean on, I do prefer associating certain players with certain teams. That is my preference as well. However, there's a little nuance to this conversation. I want to open up to the chat as well. And I'll touch on a couple of comments here just in a second. But there are certain players that we do associate with certain teams. Bobbles mentioned Ken Griffey Jr. A lot of us will think of him mostly as a Seattle Mariner. If he hadn't gotten hurt in Cincinnati, though, to be fair, I think it would have been okay. And it was also his hometown team. I was okay with the reason he went there. That wasn't an issue with me. And I was fine with him. Unfortunately, he got injured a lot. It hurt his situation. Pujols should probably never have left St. Louis. It's a shame he did. And that whole wilderness era in Anaheim is better less spoken of. No one wants to think about it. I tend to think of all-time great players. Like when I think of Bobby Orr, I just think of Chicago.
I will punch you in the throat.
The most important, like those unfortunate years prior to Chicago are not even worth discussing. Chicago Blackhawk Bobby Orr, though, wow, primo, the best. But I do tend to lean towards a lot of these players. I will quickly touch on this one from Paul. How the hell did we miss the scuttlebutt over repack? We didn't miss it. I left it open if somebody wanted. Bubbles, did I not leave it open? That we could have touched on it. We even teased about it. This is not my fault. Y'all had the opportunity, but now we're in a different topic. We'll move on. Don't imagine Eric's wrong. We know he's wrong. There you go, Paul. Legacy with the team helps. He could do one team as opposed to three teams. Both most impressive. Both are impressive to Buffalo. We don't even know what one looks like. There you go, Tom. Fair enough. I'm with Bobbles. Player team legacy matters to greatness. Marino might be a good example. Fair. Although Marino might have been a guy who might have been well served to go before he broke himself. Eric still punched threats are about as idle as the threat as the Bruins in the playoffs. Dang.
That one was pretty hardcore.
All I can say is you guys are all very lucky that I know that my mother watches this garbage. Because if my mother was not watching this garbage, I would unleash a rage so great it may break YouTube.
Wow, amazing. Now we know.
Break YouTube.
Thank God.
Break YouTube. Break it. Break it all. Break it all.
Paul you might want to move the car out of the garage. He's about to break YouTube.
He's about to break YouTube, man. It's gonna be crazy. Could be crazy. We better make sure to get our Crumble sponsorship before that, just so we're clear. By the way, real quick, I might as well reiterate. Thank you to AMG Collectibles for sponsoring whatever this nonsense is. And it is nonsense. It's delving deep into those dark waters of nonsense. However, I do want to thank AMG Collectibles, amgcollectibles.com. I did see briefly they're starting to play around with the online breaking platform. They did go live for a couple moments. That thing has been pulled down. I did it myself. I pulled it down. But that means we're getting close to getting up and running on the brakes. So that's coming. But check out amgcollectibles.ca. That's where you can see a lot of what's going on. And when that is up and running officially, that's where you'll be able to see it. Also, AMG Collectibles YouTube channel. We're getting some of the videos heading up there, and I've done a couple of them with the team. And we'll talk about what's going on in the shop, new products, a lot of that good stuff. A lot of fun, good times. Check it out if you get the chance.
Just want to
get a chance
I fully support AMG Collectibles with their new ownership. I think we're really going in the right direction now, unlike in the past. Big fan of this company and the decision they've made in this management change. And I think that the sky's the limit now. They don't have a albatross holding them back. They are just to the moon, and I'm proud to be a very small part of that. So thank you very much. And I'm just glad that you got rid of the dead weight.
So Bobbles, after I let him say all that, I'm thinking now would be a lot of fun because I have a package that's incoming from AMG Collectibles, and it contains a few cards from Leaf in the Game, including a card of Reggie Lemon. And what's funny is the fate of the Reggie Lemon card is literally being put into my hands. Literally in my hands. What happens next is completely up to me. I'm thinking
there was some talk, I believe. I'm getting, I know people think I am old, but I am getting there. I'm not quite there yet, but my memory does slip sometimes. Weren't we like talking something about that card like maybe Monday before we recorded? And there was some harsh words because we hadn't hit record yet. We weren't like 5% more mature.
But what
I think you should do it as like a giveaway.
Bubbles, what I'm thinking is I feel like I should I'm going to hang on to the card and I'm going to show it when it comes on the live stream, or we're going to talk about it a little bit. But I feel like the albatross should decide what happens next. I feel like the albatross should be a big factor in what happens, and then decisions can be made. We can all decide as a people how this goes down from here on in. I'm thinking about it. Just some food for thought, Eric. Some things to think about. You may wish to make amends on some enemies you've made. Because their endorsement may seal your fate. I'm just saying.
Hey,
moving on.
I believe I have the full endorsement of the new management of AMG Collectibles.
But alas, the new management of AMG Collectibles is not going to have a say in this matter. They've already handed over the reins to me.
I think I have a feeling that the new manager of AMG Collectibles has a great amount of say over albatrosses and show hosts that she sponsors.
What's funny though is that she said, "Carlos, whatever you think is best."
No, I don't believe that.
Eric, literally was sent to me for a reason.
Is complete.
I think entertainment value would be best for the company.
What you don't know, Eric, is that the current owner of AMG Collectibles enjoys your pain almost as much as the previous owner does. Despite your best efforts, let's put it this way: publicly, won't say so, but is presenting it in a way where she knows where it's going and what's going to happen, and she sent it anyway. That's all I got to say about that. That's all I'm going to say. All right, moving out here. Paul says, "I'll always think of Brett. I'll always think of him as a tractor driving jet." Myself, fond era. Bobby, sorry. Before Eric rudely interrupted you, you were in the middle of saying something there during the last segment there.
Oh, I have no idea now. I'm going to bow out because I'm getting
no worries, Bobby. Have yourself a good night. Thank you for coming in as always. We appreciate you. From the Garage of Knowledge, we appreciate you.
From the Garage of Knowledge.
See you later, buddy.
Bobby, take it easy. We'll talk later. Mrs. Wade probably watches to see her boy abused. Yes.
There's something to that, actually. I would not be shocked. She doesn't like me very much.
No. That tends to be a recurring thing. Yeah.
No.
What are you going to do? Put your sneakers in the washer, then the dryer, then they'll put the laces in, then hurt your back, bending over to reach them. Tom's making some valid points. Did anyone else feel sexually harassed by Eric's albatross hand gestures? Paul V says, pull a Kenny G and light that bitch on fire. I wonder if Reggie Lemon burns in the pale moonlight. We can find out. We can find out together. Content. Bobbles. Hashtag content. Hashtag content. Hashtag content. Your mother's watching Eric? Is the Reggie Lemon card on a coaster? It could be soon.
The Reggie Lululemon.
Good stuff. By the way, speaking of coasters.
No, we don't need to talk about coasters.
Boom! I paused because I knew where Eric thought my mind was going to go. Our good friends at Sticker Mule apparently had a special on coasters, and I ordered them, and actually, they're quite snazzy. I'm a fan.
There you go.
See? I know what you thought, Eric, but you're wrong.
Oh, yeah, again.
But you were wrong.
Well, when am I getting one?
Well, I was going to give you one with a Reggie Lemon card at the expo, but like I said, it might burn between now and then. I might have to create myself. Look, it might get my heat pump might not work that day, and I might need to have a source of heat. Throwing it out there, Be very, very careful how you phrase things going forward, Eric.
I don't believe for a second that the new owner of AMG Collectibles is going to be okay with any of this.
I can assure you she knew full well what I might do and is literally shipping it to me.
And I just want to say that I'm going to tell.
And what you will get, Eric, in response, officially, from AMG Collectibles is something to the effect of...
I do not see her doing that. I see her giving...
I know she might cough a couple of times before she gets all the way through the
see her giving you a scolding finger.
You mean hand me the accelerant? Yes?
I'm telling.
I'm looking forward to when you find out that that's not going to help at all. Nope.
I'm telling. That's it.
The scale is already weighed far against you, Bougie Eric. You better be very careful where you go with this going forward.
You're going to be in big trouble.
This discussion is keeping me awake as I bid on my vintage non-sports via sniping software. Bobbles, hopefully we catch up in Chantilly next weekend. Perfect. When Bobble comes back, I'll make sure to reread that comment, but thank you, Jay. Great. Get that coaster grade by tag. Isn't that redundant? Tag, coaster squared. Seems a little redundant to me, throwing it out there. Fair. But yes, I do in fact have a fancy snazzy coasters. I'll bring a couple of these to Expo. It'll be good.
Okay.
I was actually really pleased though. I got to be honest. Like they had the special on them. I'm like, ooh, coasters.
How many did you get?
50.
50. Nice.
And they're less than $20 when it's on special. So I'm like, all right, cool, man.
Can't go wrong with that.
I gave a couple to Carlos Sr. and the family, and they got a couple of these, so they like them. So.
Excellent.
So I thought I would give him a couple. So I thought he'd enjoy it. By the way, actually, this reminds me. I want to make sure I cover this because I didn't want to get to the end of the episode without saying anything. So Monday is Carlos Sr.'s birthday.
Oh, fantastic!
Yes, happy birthday to Carlos Sr.
Tomorrow,
the epicenter of the original evil.
Tomorrow is my wife's birthday, so happy birthday to my wife.
There you go, perfect. So your wife's birthday is tomorrow, and then Carlos Sr.'s birthday will be on Monday. We'll do a dinner and celebration. He's already figured. We've already helped select the cake and everything, so we'll do it tomorrow. We'll do it on Sunday. We'll do it on Sunday is when we'll have dinner and everything, so that'll be good. And one of my buddies from back in the day who's been in the chat sometimes. His birthday is also on October the 16th, so also on the Monday. So I got 2 birthdays that I'll have to wish people on Monday. So we'll make sure we get
There
that done. Well, the coaster may not receive the same tag grade twice. Maybe not. Maybe not. Probably came back as not authentic. It's true. The holder is not authentic. A real grading company would have an authentic holder, but now if I send it to tag, it holder unauthentic. Content's authentic, holder not authentic. It's very sad. Very sad. But yes, I wanted to make sure I touched on that. So happy birthday to Carlos Sr. Happy birthday to my buddy as of Monday, and happy birthday to Mrs. Bougie Eric tomorrow.
I'll pass on your well wishes to Mrs. Bougie Eric. I'm sure she'll appreciate it.
I have no doubt she'll appreciate it. No doubt. But yes. Now, Bobbles, real quick. Jay did have a message here. This discussion is keeping me awake as I bid on a vintage non-sports via sniping software. Bobbles. Hopefully we catch up in Chantilly next weekend.
I will be there.
Beautiful.
I don't know if I'm going I don't know if I'll go all 3 days. I definitely know I'll be there Friday and Saturday because James is actually coming down Thursday. So, and he's going to stay till Monday morning, I think he said.
All right. And I did mention Bobbles while you were away. We did a couple birthday wishes. So Mrs. Bougie Eric on Saturday. Mine. Yeah, perfect. And Carlos Sr. on Monday. So happy birthday to all folks involved.
Happy birthday to the man who created you, and happy birthday to the lady who puts up with his ass.
I can't argue with that.
Valid.
Can't argue with that. Nope.
Vintage John Sports has the potential to explode. Get the Paul V pump going. Supply is nothing, and the cool factor is there. There you go. Saturday might be then. All right. Fair enough. Sounds good. So we'll see. I did already get a couple of suggestions to send this over to tag for grading, but the holder might be inauthentic. So it is what it is. What are you gonna do?
The bots.
Mm-hmm. They don't know how to deal with that level of real.
I think I'm going to send a few in. We're doing an order this weekend, shipping it out Monday. I might send some of these Metal Universe in.
Oh, nice. Good.
The ones that we plan to keep or whatever. But
that's all right. So let's quickly touch on the topic that you mentioned. Let's kind of finalize that thought, and then I've got one that'll play off one of the other points you made as well. So we'll expand on it here a little bit, and then we'll play it by ear. You folks will let us know, and then we can wind her down as we need to. Okay, so let's talk on this. The discussion was related to long-term players, single teams, appreciation and preference for it, and I'm in general agreement, but there is a little bit of nuance, so that's why I wanted to make sure we included in there. And when it comes to the nuance is this. A lot of it depends on what the player does. So I'll give you an example of the opposite side of the spectrum. What about a player who starts off with a team and maybe has greater success with another team? Example that we mentioned earlier tonight, Kareem. Originally Lou Alcindor, won an NBA championship with the Milwaukee Bucks in the 70s, and then went on to have a very successful run with the Los Angeles Lakers and won 5 championships with the Lakers. 6 championships in total, but 5 with the Lakers. I think today he's mostly associated as Kareem Abdul-Jabbar with the LA Lakers, even though he started his career with the Milwaukee Bucks, won a championship with the Bucks as the lead guy with, I believe, Oscar Robertson as another great player on one of his teams when he won the championship. But he's mostly associated as a Laker for the entire latter portion of his career. That's the thing. There are players who I think are going to be like that. To your point, the Griffey thing, like I said, I think it would have been a different context for Griffey if he had even been able to play to a fraction of his potential in Cincinnati. If he had still been like a great player and accumulated the stats and went on a march, a chase to Hank Aaron's record, because he was such a good player and he missed so much time with injury, he still ended up with 630 home runs, 125 shy of Hank, despite missing all those years with injury, being hurt constantly. And he still got within 125 home runs of Hank Aaron. Imagine a world where Ken Griffey Jr. in that latter portion of his career is chasing Hank Aaron at 755 home runs. If Ken Griffey Jr. is the all-time home run king in a Cincinnati Reds uniform, I don't think it's an issue. I don't think it's a problem. I think people can accept it.
I don't know, because like you said, Kareem, you could name off him, and he obviously had the name change and everything else. He had one title with the Bucks and then went to a storied franchise like the Lakers. But you look at so many players out there, and your boy Favre, Green Bay, that's what he's known for. Yeah, there's the memes and the jokes of the Jets and the Vikings. Griffey, as a collector, I didn't care when he left Seattle. I did not care. Like, even if he didn't get hurt, I did not care for the fact he went to Cincinnati. Shaq, I would not follow him to the Lakers. Even though he had more success in LA, I was a Shaq Orlando Magic fan. Trying to think of, let's see, Ricky Henderson. How many he played for almost every damn MLB team there is, but people know him as an Oakland A. So I don't know if it's a fact of where they performed more, where they had the longest tenure from, or is it a matter of where they were young and more notable and made their mark, or what it is. But I mean, there's just so many players out there that did play on many different teams, but their legacy is known. It's like solidified with one team.
Well, like I said, there are examples of that. Bobby Orr, Chicago, obviously legacy. Ray Bork, Colorado Avalanche. Ray Bork, Colorado Avalanche, all-time great. I think he played for some team in like Worcester, Peabody, Saskatchewan, somewhere. And then Colorado Avalanche is where he made his bones. Really built his legacy. That's another one. An obvious choice. Wow. Chef's kiss. It gets tough, though. It gets tough. Who do you associate these people with? It's a tough choice. So I open it to the chat. Any thoughts on this about any of these long-term players? Thinking about players who have these extended careers and then maybe play for multiple teams versus players who play the majority of. So in hockey, we can talk about Steve Yzerman. Spent his entire career as a Red Wing. There you go. But it's weird because there's some all-time great players who have cup of coffee. Like Medano played the 1 year in Detroit. It wasn't a good experience, but it's not like it tainted his career at all. It didn't really do anything. Like the majority of his career was in Minnesota/Dallas, which was the same franchise. So that wasn't an issue. That wasn't a big deal. And not, I joked about the Ray Bork thing, but it's like nobody complained that Ray Bork won a Stanley Cup with Colorado.
No,
nothing was wrong with that. Like everybody was cool with it. It was fine.
It really, and honestly, it really was fine. The team, the Boston Bruins, and all jokes aside for a minute, the team totally sucked. They were going to get even worse in the next couple of years. Ownership was putting no money behind it. Ray was at the end of his career, and he's like, I want to stay here, but I need help. And the Bruins are like, no, we're not going to give you any. So he goes, I want out. And they were good enough to put him in, say, okay, well, we'll let you pick wherever you want to go. And, he decided that Colorado had the best chance. And obviously, they were just filled with Hall of Famers. So, it really wasn't a hard choice. And he left and won in his second year there. And we threw him a parade in Boston. And he came back and brought the Stanley Cup back home to Boston on his day. And, there was a few 100,000 people that went into Boston and threw him a parade and a celebration. So it was widely understood why he left, and it was the franchise that let him down, not him letting the franchise down. And he's still.
I just feel like in today's game, there's just so much like players. It seems like every time you turn around, a guy is on a new team and they're only putting in, 3 years and then they're moving on. Even guys signing contracts with like no trade clauses and all this other stuff, they wind up on another team because, Fish Boy, your favorite, he's supposed to have this freaking lifetime basic deal with the Angels, but all the talk is he may end up somewhere else, It's like, as a fan, and I'm taking out of, as a fan and putting a player as greatness, I just feel like it's easier and it connects better when they're on one team for the majority of their career. It don't have to be their entire career, but
Right.
for their majority of their career. And then, later on, if they move along and, like Rice, I mentioned, he was my favorite player growing up. He went to the Raiders and he went to the Seahawks. He didn't do crap, but he was still
for the Raiders, though. Bobbles, come on. I mean,
I think Jerry Rice still had a couple of good seasons.
He played well for the Raiders. I mean, the
not
Seahawks,
compared to a
when I say he
not
didn't do
compared to a San
crap, did
Francisco.
they have any success of championships or anything?
Well,
Anywhere
no.
close to what the Niners had?
If it
No.
wasn't for Tom Brady and that, call about during the snow game where, his arm was moving forward and they, said it was a forward, pass when it was really a fumble.
That's a cruel game, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, they would have went to the Super Bowl.
Oh,
And-
by the way, for the record, apparently, since you just mentioned them, I was looking them up here. Happy birthday, Jerry Rice. October
It was
13th.
meant to be mentioning him. See?
Yep. Happy birthday, Jerry Rice. He is now 61. He's now 61.
Still looks great. Still in great shape.
Yep. October 13th, 1962. Happy birthday, Jerry Rice. There you go.
And so look at what Zach mentions. Shaq played for half the league at the end of his career. He's not wrong. Shaq played for the Heat.
Sucked.
He played with the Heat. He played with the Suns.
Cleveland.
The Cavs. The
Boston.
Magic. The Lakers. Boston.
Sucked.
Kevin Garnett.
What? You didn't like the big Shamrock?
He sucked.
He played around. But where does everybody remember Shaq playing, though?
In blue chips, whatever that team was.
Yeah, I mean, I can only think it. I only picture him in two teams with Orlando and LA. That's the only things I think of.
Yeah, that's fair.
Now,
I think that's reasonable.
The interesting one and the one player that I do think is an anomaly in this is Gretzky. Because if I was going to collect Gretzky or look at Gretzky, yes, he had.
I know St. Louis Blues. I know.
Well, he had a big portion and some success in LA.
Yeah.
But you also have to remember him as the Oilers and everything else. I think he did. His career was just magnificent enough that he could be remembered across the
4 teams in 20 years. I mean, the guy played 20 years. He played for 4 teams. Went to the Stanley Cup. I mean, he won 4, but went to like 5. I think he went to 6. I think he was like 1-4. Lost.
Yeah, I think he lost one with
Lost
Edmonton and the LA one. And the LA one.
The Canadians in LA. Yeah. So, he went to 6 finals. And St. Louis, I mean, if it wasn't for that Yzerman goal, I mean, they might have gone to the finals. St. Louis might have gone to the finals that year. They had Grant Fuhr in net, who at the time set a record of playing 70 out of the 80 games. He was having a hell of a year. He had Brett Hull scoring 70 goals a season. And, you have the all-time assist leader, centering Brett Hull. I mean,
but I don't know if you remember. Like what's been funny for me for Gretzky is there's been a couple different stories post playing career where he talked about different times where if the owners hadn't been weird, he could have signed a deal with so-and-so or done this or done that. Like, I don't know if you remember some of these because it's Gretzky who's the one who's talking about this stuff. When he went to LA, there was an outside possibility. There was a possibility there at the tail end that he could have gone to Detroit instead.
Right.
Which would have been interesting. His
dad talked him out of it.
Yeah. And then forward, he was considering re-signing with St. Louis, but they were having some weird issues and they couldn't figure that out.
I think it also had to do with Keenan as the coach.
Yeah, but that's what I mean. Like, there's always like a mitigating circumstance because there were like opportunities there.
This guy.
If they hadn't been a pain in the ass, basically, and it would have been there. And then the last one was the possibility if the Leafs had not been ridiculous about arranging the trade, there was a deal on the table for him to go to Toronto. Now, here's the thing. Would it have worked? Probably not. It's the Toronto Maple Leafs. Nothing ever works. However, you're telling me Wayne Gretzky, at any point in his career, playing for the Toronto Maple Leafs, that's box office. If nothing else, is box office for that market. They would have put him on there in prime time and given him the prime time slot of every game he played. It would have been interesting. I don't know if it would have meant anything, but all right, we'll move on. We're on 10 finals, yeah.
So I wanted to pull this out because it's one of my.
You got to remove the H,
favorites.
Geoff. It's John Casey without the H.
I'm pretty sure. I'm pretty sure Grant Fuhrer.
I will hit the Google. I'll hit the Google machine and find out. I'll find out.
You know, I was already wrong once tonight, but I'm pretty sure Grant Fuhrer was there.
I think for that St. Louis Blues team, I think you are correct, but I will confirm. I will find out.
I think John Casey was in Boston at that point.
Go ahead, Bobbles. You were saying?
I was just saying we were talking about Griffey and on the different teams and everything, and this is one of my favorite cards of his because it epitomizes the importance of him in Seattle because it's hard to see and it probably won't show up, but on the top of the card there, it actually says Chicago White Sox.
Oh,
but
right.
as you see, he's in the Seattle Mariners uniform, and if you flip it over, it has the Seattle Mariners logo on the back. But the card actually has the Chicago White Sox on the front from his very short stint with the White Sox. So that one I always felt was really funny because
no idea he played for the White Sox.
it was a very short stint. But yeah, the card actually says Chicago White Sox, but on the back it has the Mariners logo and it has him in the Mariners uniform.
All right, so here's the answer to that question. So for both of you, sort of, depending on how you want to perceive it, I'll explain. So I've got it on Hockey Reference. So both Grant Fuhrer and John Casey were on that Blues team with Gretzky, both of them. But here's the thing: so Grant Fuhrer played 79 games for them as the starter.
Yeah,
30 wins, 28 losses, blah blah blah. John Casey was also on that team, to be clear. Now, that's regular season. We go to the playoffs. John Casey played 12 games, 2 for Grant Fuhrer, which sounds to me like he got hurt.
Yeah.
So John Casey played 12 games in that playoff. So
Fuhrer was undefeated.
So what he says here, Yzerman beat Casey on the winner, is completely plausible because that sounds like what happened in the playoffs. So yeah. Grant Fuhrer was the starter for the majority of the season, and in the playoffs something happened, and John Casey was the starter.
And then I thought,
and apparently they were both the same age, which is hilarious. I didn't realize that. That's interesting.
I could have sworn that in '96 Casey was in Boston, but I may be getting that confused.
And to be clear, I was also correct. John Casey is Jon. Drop the H. So yes, you are correct, Geoff, and also drop the H. So there you go. So make sure we had our facts right, but thank you, Bobbles. That is correct. Yeah, most people do look at Ken Griffey Jr. as a Seattle Mariner. I think that's the majority of us. That is true.
This entire box is all graded Griffey, and it's all Mariners because that's all I buy him in. I might occasionally, if it's cheap enough and I'm at a show, pick up a Reds card, but 99.9% of my Griffies are all Mariners.
Makes sense.
Now, do you think he was doing the roids as a Mariner, or do you think he waited till he got to Cincinnati to do that?
So I was an innocent young lad during that period, and
of 80. Yep.
I didn't know of any of that existing, and yeah, I've told the story. I actually hated baseball when they came out and said that players were doing the steroids and everything. And just a few years ago, I started liking baseball again and accepted the fact that, as an adult looking at it, they likely all were doing it. So it wasn't like any particular one was cheating. They were really just cheating the fans putting on the show. So, but competition wise, Barry Bonds was still freaking impressive because he was facing other people that were also doing roids. So, the purists think that Griffey didn't. I am leaning to, I wouldn't be surprised if he did.
Okay, first of all,
I would be because I'm like, what good did it do you?
Okay,
you didn't bulk up. You needed to lift weights for this to work. You realize. Just to be clear, it's not enough to inject yourself. I said I'm talking about muscle. If you're going to do steroids, you must hit the gym. You have to.
His head's actually bigger than Bonds's now.
Yeah, if you looked at his head in Cincinnati, it was this big.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So, well, he didn't find a muscle, Eric. Like no. I don't care if his head is literally twice his size. You realize you have to go to the gym, right? You have to lift weights, lift. Yeah. Yes.
He was hurt. He couldn't.
Yeah, he was hurt because of all the roid. Like no man.
No, in seriousness, he was my favorite player, and I was too young to even know what all that meant. And then when all the stories after the summer with Sosa and McGuire and all, that whole thing, and then it broke about the news with the roids and all that. It made me hate baseball. And looking back on it and looking at photos and stuff of him, I'm like, damn, they said he didn't, but
no, he did.
I don't know.
Oh, he most definitely did.
Then somebody had. Then I this guy needed a role model because it was like, did you realize you still have to go to the gym? You still have to go. That's half the equation. You have to go to the gym, otherwise, what were you even doing?
I don't think he got the memo.
That's like Eric taking performance enhancers to sit his ass on the chair. You got to do the other part.
Yeah, Bedard needs to figure out how to get his hands on it.
Look at Bobbles over here talking shade on Bedard. The kid is literally 18 and he's already like, well, he's too tiny. You're like, dude, let the guy have 5 minutes. Jesus. And by the way, he's had 2 points in 2 games. He's fine.
I said, read the chat. Read the chat. I said it looks like he can be very, very talented. I'm just hoping that these hits he's able to sustain and last, because when they're hitting him, he's like flying. Like it. Yeah, that was all I said.
Look, we'll get Dave Semenko out of cryogenic stasis. He'll be fine. Zagorski's second game was a blue at Edmonton. A couple of minutes into it, Kelly Buckberger hit Gretzky with a chicken wing elbow at center ice. Never forget the sound of 17,000 people gasping. There you go, Paul. There you go. All right, let's touch on one more thing here. I'm not going to stretch it out unnecessarily, but some good topics. And thank you everybody for in the chat. It's been an active chat either way, so we've had a lot of fun.
I do want to go. If we ended early, that'd be all right with tonight. I want to go see my kid.
Sure. Yeah. So real quick, one other thing I wanted to touch on briefly here at the end, because like I said, it was pertinent to one thing we talked about. And I think we'll touch on it some more on the podcast. So just bear it in mind, Bobbles. We'll bring it up again. You were kind of curious and also on, getting a little bit of your head around the idea of, in the hockey side of things, the hockey collecting side of things, the disconnect between numbered cards, rare to find cards, long odd cards, because you referenced it earlier tonight with it. And it's been a long-standing thing. And I think it's an opportunity for the collector who does their research. I encourage doing the research. That's one thing we did with the AMG thing. Is I found a couple of the inserts that Upper Deck had in its Cardboard Chronicles page, and you scroll through and you see like, this is 810 packs. That's a really tough card, but it's not numbered. So if you don't know what you're looking at, you see this card and you think, oh, that must be, that's what is that? It's kind of weird. Well, actually that's one in a multi-case insert. That's a really tough card. But if you don't know what you're looking at, you have no idea. So you might not register that and you might not pay for it accordingly. That's where that hot numbers you talked about plays into play. The linchpin plays into play. All of those are not easy cards to pull, but people are not paying attention. They're not reading. They have no idea. They don't look at the odds. They don't pay attention. And unfortunately, that is a big issue with the hockey side of things. It's always been an issue. And unless somebody tells you it's rare, they don't know.
My biggest thing with it is, again, I know Eric doesn't open product. You open sometimes on the channel to have fun. But it's actually made it, and this was obvious with it. I wasn't looking at those cards to sell because I love the linchpins. I was excited that I pulled one. She was hella excited she pulled the Beniers auto. But it also it hits you because it's like, all right, and I'll use the Connor McDavid Hot Shots. Again, that is 1 in 600 packs to pull a Hot Shots. I believe that is a 20 card checklist, but 1 in 600 packs is 40 boxes. You think about that, those boxes are ranging anywhere from $100 to $130, depending on where you're getting them. 40 boxes to pull one. 20 card checklist, and to pull McDavid. And if you pull the top player in the game today, it won't even cover your cost of the box.
Yep. Right. Yeah,
that's just insane to me. So it takes a lot of that fun out of the enjoyment of opening the box, because it's almost like as soon as you buy it and open it, even if you hit a really awesome card, you're like, well, shit, I could have just popped on eBay and bought one.
Carlos, and you probably saw it. Carlos did, obviously many Thursday night YouTube shows with Brad. Okay. Mm-hmm. And one of the most memorable is when they opened up a case of the cup.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Thousands of dollars worth of product.
And thank you, Luke. Again, much appreciation, much love. Thank you, Luke.
And that's why I bought my Robertson and didn't even try for it.
There was nothing in there. Thousands, I don't know exactly the number, $1,500 maybe two. I don't know what the price.
They're $1,200 a box.
Yeah, thousands of dollars then. Mm-hmm. Multiple thousands. Nothing.
He did pull a Stutzel, I believe.
Yeah, but in relative terms, if $1,200 a pop, a case is six tins.
Yep.
It's you want to see $7,200 go real quick?
Nothing.
Well, so to be clear, we hadn't opened wax in a very long time. I hadn't bought wax. I had to go to the LCS to pick up cards that are being submitted in this order. And when I left, she joked with me, and I know she was only joking. But she enjoys opening too. And she's like, if they have any of that Metal Universe down there, because we enjoy that product, it'd be perfectly fine if you buy some and bring it home. I get down there and he had some, and in my mind, I was like, we haven't spent money on opening stuff. I don't even buy it from Walmart or anything anymore. It's just, I know the value is not there. So in relative terms, I bought it to have fun, but it wasn't cheap to have fun. And then we did pull some really cool stuff, but then it's still, even though you had fun, it's like, but it still punches you in the gut because you're like, shit, I could have just went on and bought the card. So it takes that fun away.
Yeah. It's gambling. You walk into the casino all excited and you got, $500 in your pocket. And then 20 minutes later, you don't have $500 in your pocket. Yeah. You may have had fun, at the tables or the slots or whatever. But then after it sinks in, you realize this sucks.
I mean, yeah, I try to relate it to other things that we do. Like, not us personally, but people do that spend money on. You go to an amusement park, you ride a ride. It might take 30 seconds that you stood in line for 2 hours on, and it costs $60 a person to get in the amusement park. Did you have fun? Yeah. Did you ride the roller coaster? Sure. Are you going to remember it in 2 years? Probably not. Is it a life-changing experience? Not really. I mean, I've been to Disney World and I couldn't tell you shit about it. It's kind of the same thing. You do something for that experience and to have fun, but like it's getting expensive, you know.
I think though, really important point here. I think though, and this is what kind of led to this conversation on the Discord, and we're bringing it over here, is that it's one thing if you're opening boxes and doing whatever and getting stuff and not quote unquote getting value. It's another thing when you beat the odds, you get the hit. You actually get like it's like you went to the casino, Eric, and your number came up. You hit. You got the thing that you were. So I'll use an example,
and it's Matthews.
So I'm going to give you an example. I'm going to give you a simple example, not top player, but I'll still give you an analogy that I used as an example of this conversation where we were talking about it. So I'll share a card here. So I bought this on ComC. So this is a good old Jamie Benn here, captain of the Dallas Stars. This is from 21-22 Allure. This is the insert is called Hustle, Hit, and Never Quit. That's one of the various ones that came out. This is the autograph variant of this card. It is not a numbered insert, but it is an insert. And I'm actually going to show you what the odds are of pulling this specific card, just so we all have context. So here it is, whatever. Jamie Benn is not the best player. Totally get you. But you open a box of 21-22 Allure, last year's Allure, and you pull this card. You don't know what you really have. You go and look up the odds. And here's what you're going to find when you look up the odds. Hustle, Hit, and Never Quit autograph checklist. Here it is. Jamie Benn, 1 in 2,693 packs. The odds of pulling this card are 1 in 2,693. That's a great pull. You did amazing. That's sensational. You beat the odds easily by a lot. Not a little bit, a lot.
I'm going after Duncan Keith. Screw it.
Amazing. Okay, I bought it for $14.
Right.
$14. I don't know what the box went for, but it was more than $14. Just so we're all on the same page.
I think that's because
do you think
not everyone knows to go check that web page? I mean, I wouldn't.
I know they don't. I know they don't.
I'd go, oh look, Jamie Benn auto, that's cool, and then I'd probably sell it on eBay for $14 because I've been like, if it isn't serial numbered, I wouldn't have thought I need to go look this up on this website to go see what the odds were. And then I would have put it on if I did, I would have put that in the eBay title and charged more.
But the thing is, though, even if you tried to charge more, people wouldn't give it to you because the other people don't perceive it with that value. The point is, because it's not a numbered insert, the fact it's not numbered, 1 in 2,693 packs, you can do some napkin math and figure out like, okay, what's the approximate print run of this? It's not a super common card. It's actually a tough one to pull, all things considered. So the print run cannot be that high. It just can't be based on the way this works, based on the print run. So, but the problem is, you go put it up on eBay if you want, but most people are going to be like, it's not numbered. Oh, but it's 1 in 20, almost 2,700 packs. It's not numbered.
Yep. There's a lot of, like, even in other sports, Paul does football. There's some Prism inserts that are insanely short printed. They're not numbered. It's just another color in the rainbow wheel that you can sometimes find cheap because people don't know it. Optic has checkerboards that are starting to get more heavily printed, but they used to be like a print of speculated under 25. People didn't really care about them. So, I mean, do you think it's more people need a number on the card to know that it's rare or hard to hit?
Yes.
Or is it just a matter of too many products out there?
Also, yes. Yep. Yes and yes.
Kind of figured it was a double yes.
Yes squared. Yes squared.
Keep it simple, stupid. That's what we want. We don't want to go do research like Carlos is doing. We don't want to have to do napkin math. We want to open it up, flip it over, and go, oh, it's this many out of this many. Boom. Now
well, I showed Bobbles and Wes that meteor shower card. That was a good example one of that as well. It was for the Fleer Ultra product, which is an EPAC exclusive, which makes it even more obscure and more complicated. So you got it all the way out in EPAC land, And then Meteor Shot, I forget what the odds are, but the Meteor Shot, I gave you guys the odds. It's a very tough card to pull. It's one in like a case hit or multi-case hit. It's a tough card. And it's a cool looking card based on like the pattern and kind of the thing they put. So it's a cool looking card. It's got the shine and all that fun stuff. You got some nice players in it. And it's one in, at the best, a case hit. And it's got a 20 card checklist. So you want to get your favorite player, it's like 1 in 20 cases, minimum, at the minimum. So in other words, there can't be a lot of them out there. They don't go for that much. They don't go for as much as you. I bought the Jason Robertson for like $34 or $35. But that's because, again, people didn't know what they were looking at. They don't do the research that I just talked about. I went and looked at it and I go, oh, that actually seems like a tough card. $35 actually seems pretty reasonable. I'll take that. Thank you. But I did that research. I went and did that extra step and hit the Google machine and found out that information. But if you're not going to do that, then yeah, you're not getting a damn thing. But it's just a valid point. But I just thought I would present it. I go, education, maybe the theme here. Education is a great thing and it goes a long way and you can win a lot of. Sometimes it helps just to take that extra step and take 2 seconds and do a little research, a little digging. Paul here says 2016 Prism True Reds are out of either 10 or 15 and sometimes get listed as space silver pricing. Made some decent percentages off that knowledge. Fair. Part of the reason flippers desperately need PSA 10s, they got no idea how to organically value something. Yep, that's a reasonable point. The number is important for ultra modern, but then you have unnumbered SP populations left in the imagination. Yep. Fair point. Fair point. But yeah, the numbering right now is the key for a lot of it. And in the hockey, we've become very dependent on it. There can be some really tough. Upper Deck is trying really hard with the short prints. They're trying really hard with the low numbered short. Sorry, not low numbered. They're trying really hard with the long odd short prints. But the problem is the audience still doesn't get that. It's a little too complicated. They're not following. So it's like, yeah. Go ahead.
No, just that's it. Keep it simple. That's that's the best business model. Don't confuse your customers. Don't make them overthink. People don't want to do that for a hobby that's supposed to be fun. Keep it simple, stupid. The KISS method. That is how you do it. I mean, I got this card here. It's 48 out of 50. Boom. I know there's only 50 of these in the world. Okay, done thinking. And I can instantly enjoy the fact that I have one of them.
I'm the opposite. I don't
Gee,
really
that's shocking.
No, I'm just saying I could give.
This is why you anger people, Bobbles. This is why you hurt feelings.
Why'd you kick him off our show? He sucks.
This does not have a serial number. I know it's hard as hell to find. Why? Because when you go to look for it, there's hardly ever any available. I mean, you don't need a serial number to tell you that.
Yeah, I do. I do. No, you're wrong. I do need a serial number.
Oh, no, he's 100% wrong. Bobbles could not be more. Look, this is the reason why he angers people. Not Man of Peace. Opposite of Man of Peace.
Right.
Super opposite of Man of Peace.
Super opposite of Man of Peace.
Totally. All right. I'm gonna share one more card and we'll start winding her down. So thank you all for the comments and appreciate it. As always. KISS principle doesn't work when there are 50, 100, one of them cards of a given player. Humans are bad at math.
Thank you, Jay.
True story, Jay. True story, Jay. You are correct.
There's too many 101s.
That is true. All right, hold on here. Let's go here. So this is actually a recent pickup here from eBay land. We got another shiny with a nice multi-color patch there of the jersey. Yeah, solid, good stuff. Appreciate it. But I'm gonna take it now. I gotta take her easy now. I gotta slow down a little bit because I got Expo coming. So now I need to start replenishing the funds to have some fun at the Expo. But we'll talk more about that in the weeks as we get closer to it. So it'll be. It's like Bobbles. We got to get you up here for Expo, man. You don't know what you're missing. There's some good stuff happening. Nope. Even we let Eric across the border. Like I said, we even let Eric across the border.
Stay where you are.
I gotta figure out how to get one of those pass support things. And
it's important. Yeah, you gotta get one of those. Yeah.
My daughter turns.
They don't let you find him.
My daughter turns 18, and this is sad. Less than a freaking month. And then the missus can also get a passport. So we'll have to go do that once all that happens. Man, less than a month and she'll be 18. Whew.
Shame. Mm.
Then
Paul
they'll
here says
both be of age.
Paul says every week you don't bring crumble to the class, you're closer to the chopping block there, DeSalvo. Dang.
In the throat, Paul. In the throat.
Promises. You can't say you don't know SSP populations and double print everything, so no one really knows how many one of ones there are actually one of ones. There you go. What about says like kabooms? People goes crazy over there. Aren't they unnumbered? They are.
And that's why
Eric's favorite.
Trash. Complete trash.
Paul says enjoying the Vikings third jersey.
What third jersey for the Vikings did he play in?
Everything is a Vikings jersey, according to Paul. He's
Okay.
decided to lean on the Vikings as being the key to this whole thing.
I remember him playing in a white one and a purple one, and that's it. I didn't remember him playing in a third jersey.
It doesn't matter what other jersey he wears. It's an alternate Vikings jersey.
No.
Paul's decided that's the direction Paul is leaning.
Well, you know, it's just typical Paul making absolutely no sense, but that's fine.
Well, I'm more disturbed by the fact. I'm more disturbed by the fact he spelled his name wrong. That doesn't look like.
No, no one likes you, Paul. Go away.
Wow, you're picking on two different Pauls tonight too. We let Eric in, so Bobbles shouldn't be a problem. True. That was kind of my like. I sat there listening to him try to make this argument. We let you in.
I snuck in. That was not let in. I snuck in. Tim,
we could not even. We'd have to restart this live stream over with another 4 hours to recount all the crimes that Bougie Eric has committed. Crimes against humanity, crimes against decent taste, actual crimes.
It's a couple of those.
We got a lot of. We'd have to restart the whole thing. The whole counter would have to be restarted with a lot of hours.
Well, I mean, crimes. I mean, found guilty, right?
Oh, we got enough evidence. We can find you guilty of a lot of this stuff.
Well, you haven't yet.
Well, the problem is we can't figure out where you are. There's like that void of like. Right. I told you. You keep talking about that space there. It's like all we look at the Massachusetts map, and all we got is various blobs. We got Salem, we got Peabody, we got Worcestershire. So you're like, as far as we can tell, you're like Worcestershire region. It's just like this void, this space.
But where will I be tomorrow?
A Worcestershire region. You don't actually escape it. It's like the Mist. If you see the movie, I think it's the horror movie The Mist, or something like that, The Mist, or one of those. I was like, no, you don't actually escape it. It's just there. You think you've left, and you end up right back where you started.
Yeah.
It's basically the turnpike. You don't actually escape it. You don't actually leave.
No.
Ballyer says just he went off 1991 Stadium Cup spelling. Fair. Valid. All right, folks, any last comments? Feel free to throw them in there. We'll wind her down. Also, like I mentioned before, I've already talked about it in the past here. So first of all, thank you to AMG Collectibles for supporting and helping out a lot of that in the channel. There is stuff coming up. We're getting ever closer to them actually starting up the live breaks. So that's going to be fun. Once they get that going up and running, that's going to be cool, especially for those of us on the Canadian side of the border. I don't think they're going to do, I think they probably do stuff for US folks, but it's probably Canadian would probably make the most sense, especially with a lot of breakers already available anyway. But, you know, to each their own. Check it out if you want to. AMGcollectibles.ca is there if you want to check that out as well. Also, coming up, we're doing the podcast weekly. And the next one, if you're into the hockeys, we are going to focus more on the hockeys. So there's going to be a fair bit of that. Prepare for a lot of Jason Robertson pumping. We may have Wes from the Discord that'll be joining us. So there's a little more Dallas Star love in there. So we'll probably get some of that. And Eric will try to claim the Boston Bruins are a relevant franchise. So you can look forward to that.
And with 5% less anger and 5% more maturity.
That's right. So the thing is, if a 1 out of 50 shows up and having a 70 population reports, will be chalked up to crack and resubmits, but not overprinting. There you go.
Speaking of the AMG thing, let those kind folks know that if they do offer breaking to the U.S. and they do specialize in the hockeys, that I would. There's at least one United States resident that might be available or interested because I tried some breaks a couple years ago for hockey, but those people, they weren't bad. Like, I'm not talking bad about it. It was just their shipping and stuff took for freaking ever to actually ship out. So,
I want it to be careful because I don't want to promise something they haven't set up. But at the same time, I don't see any reason why not. But it's something I'll definitely, I will talk to them about it and see. I would make it available if it was possible, but I also have to make sure they're able to do it. As long as they're able to do it, I don't see any reason why not.
Bobbles,
So
I
I'll
know
make sure
some
they
of them.
all the Arizona Coyote spots. He'll take them all.
Oh yeah, 100%. I totally figured that. Yeah.
The stupid Coyotes.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No, that's what you want. That's what you get.
A noted hockey expert, Bougie Eric. Go and check out the YouTube short if you want to know more about Eric's expertise. Just saying. Anyway, so that episode will be dropping on Tuesday. We'll record on Monday, and that'll drop on Tuesday, and then we'll talk a little bit more about the hockeys. And then for future episodes, we'll shift around a couple different topics that we have on the docket. And as we get closer to the expo, we'll definitely be talking more about that. But otherwise than that, we did have a NBA all-time great discussion. Much to my surprise, I wasn't expecting that tonight, so we had that. We touched on some other things. And then, we'll be back for more episodes coming up. Thank you all for joining us as part of the spooky season. It was Friday the 13th. By the way, bonus points to those of you either on replay or in the original who catch the Easter egg in the thumbnail. You got to pay attention. If you blink, you miss it. Thank you, sir. Much appreciated. All right, folks, have yourself a good night. If you can hit the like button on the way out, I charge Eric for it. We always do that. AMG Collectibles supports the channel in general, but Eric is personally responsible for the like button. That's how we roll. So on your way out, if you can hit the like button, that'd be super appreciated. Otherwise, more videos coming up the channel. Like if you like, subscribe. Have yourselves a good one, and we'll catch you. Oh, one more thing. We're still technically on Friday. So East Coast folks, you still get Friday for another 8 minutes. West Coast folks, you still got plenty of time. Have yourself a good weekend. We'll talk to you later.